Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend. Cinnamon Roll, what if with another fiction? What if Deku Shirogane and Seijin's heroic journey at Yua now? Before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want more videos like this now, let's get into the fanfic. In a society where superpower became a norm of everyday life, where villains used their gifts for evil, causing fear of them everywhere, where heroes had so much on their plates, they hardly got home. It was hard to notice the cries of a young boy over his balloon drifting far away of reach. Naturally, in a world where everyone are at the risk of a villain's attack, such thing would not catch even the briefest glimpse of passers-by. They have grown accustomed to more urgent and dangerous incidents, which revolved around fire, destructive power, and crazy fights between heroes and villains. The cries of the small child were drowned within the mumbles of the crowd about their favorite heroes and the latest incident, which featured the number one hero, All Might, saving two middle schoolers from a slime villain. As the balloon flew higher, the kid's wailing stifled as he realized it could not be retrieved. "We will buy another one." His mother tried to cheer him up. In a world filled with heroes and villains, such trivial things are almost invisible. It doesn't mean much. Even if someone stepped to help, it wouldn't mean anything in such world. However, the boy's cries died completely and his eyes widened in awe at the falling white feathers. A shadow was casted on them as its owner soared above their heads. Not before long, a girl flew down, smiling broadly from ear to ear, and in her hand she grasped the thread of the red balloon. "Once you let go, it can't be retrieved. Hold on tight to it, all right. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any glory to it, nor will entice anyone's attention." Still, the grin the boy had given to her was more than enough. "Thank you, miss." She smiled in return. She had snow-white short hair that was dyed electric blue from the inside, a silvery light ring hovering inches above her head. Her red eyes glinted happily at the kid, and her snowy large wings folded themselves so not to bother other passers-by. She waved at the boy as he walked among the crowd along with his mother, her wings slowly shrinking and squeezing into her back again through the slits on her uniform as if they didn't exist. "You're doing it again." She whirled around, facing a black-haired girl who was hunched over, apparently trying to catch her breath, having ran all the way there while holding another backpack. "Apologies." The white-haired girl scratched the back of her head. "I just rushed over. Thanks for bringing my bag." She grabbed her cyan bag and slid one hinge over her shoulder. "That's how you're, Sora, always dashing over to offer help." The black-haired girl pulled herself up and rolled her eyes. She was wearing the same uniform as Sora, a pink one-piece. Her long black hair was held up in a half-moon bun with few strands standing out of it. Her emerald green eyes shining from behind oval half-rimmed black glasses. "You may too. I heard you helped Yu with those bullies the other day." Both of them started trudging down the path towards their favorite cafe. He was really thankful. "It was nothing." She waved nonchalantly. "Seijin-kun is your childhood friend, right? A friend of yours is a friend of mine, I guess." You're so nice. You think all the people around you are nice, don't you?" Yume sighed. "You shouldn't let your guard down, you know. If you're aiming to be a hero, it's rather inconvenient to presume everyone is an ally." She casted a side glance at the white head, who blushed and scratched her cheek. "You're acting like a 5-year-old child. So sorry." The black-haired girl sighed deeply at her friend. "That's why you need me by your side. I'll always be there to correct you." Hearing that, Sora's face beamed again and nodded at her. It wasn't before long that they hit the threshold of the cafe. Taking their accustomed spot by the window, Sora ordered a cup of juice while Yume a black coffee. "How can you drink it? For me, I can't even take a sip." Yume shrugged. "It comes naturally to me. Guess you're really a kid." Sora's sweat dropped at that. Everything about her seemed like a kid for real. She was shorter than other girls her age, more or less a human bullet of energy who didn't stop, and had a pretty short temper to add. All of that meant that it became common for her classmates to treat her as the class child. Geez, I'll have to babysit you for so long, I guess. I doubt you will survive by yourself in Yua. Right, Yume? You two are planning to enter Yua. She edged to the end of her chair as to get closer. Yeah, I've confidence in my grades, so I don't think the written exam will be any trouble. However, the waiter came along with their orders, which they took thankfully. You're worried about your quirk, right? The other girl closed her eyes and nodded before supping from her coffee. Sora blinked at her as she sucked on her straw. You know, that hero, the one who could erase people's quirks. What was his name again? Eraserhead. Yume answered, trying her best not to facepalm herself. Despite aiming to be a hero, her friend's knowledge of heroes is very limited. Right, he is an UA alumnus. His quirk resemble yours so much, so I'm sure you can do it. Yume's face lit with a smile at her friend's encouraging words. That's too a part of who you're. Well, there is a long way between me and Eraserhead, but I will try my best. Thanks for encouraging me, Sora. The white-haired girl's smile broadened even more. Yume, however, had a bothered look as she glanced through the window. Ni? Sora's attention was drawn from her juice to Yume. Seijin-kun, is he really intending to apply to UA too? Ah, Yu is determined to get in. It was his dream since childhood. Frankly, he was the one who spurred me. Yume sighed deeply upon hearing that. You're his childhood friend, so he may listen to you rather than me. Her eyes met with Sora's red ones. For his own good, tell him to give up on the entrance exam. The sun was about to set when the purple-haired boy stepped out of the building, taking his usual path back home at a slow pace. His purple eyes were casted down. He didn't want to meet other people's eyes. He wasn't good with dealing with them, and he definitely didn't want to meet that look they cast upon him when seeing his baggy eyes and chalk-white face. His feet dragged when he reached the park. Out of the path home he grew to hate. That was the only place he liked, and wished it was his home. Since it was sunset, the park was deserted, or so it should have been. There was the creaking of the old swing. Upon second look, he could see someone there. A white-haired girl swaying slightly while her eyes fixed on the orange sky. She looked back at the park entrance and her face beamed. "You!" she called out loud, pushing herself off the swing and grabbing her backpack on her rush to him. Already finished with the extra classes. The boy nodded his head. A small smile finally was drawn on his face. All right then, let's head home together. They strolled up the hill, chatting about yesterday's news. Did you hear? It seems All Might is here in Musutafu. You're talking about yesterday's incident. I've heard of it. The two middle schoolers. They say before All Might rushed to save them. One of them rushed off to help his captured friend. That's very brave of him. It's... But it was kind of reckless too. It may have caused trouble to the heroes. Can you blame him? His friend was in danger. She folded her arms and huffed tiredly. What's wrong with you people? I mean, of course if you're in danger, I would jump to help you regardless of anything. You're the same too, right? Purple eyes met the red ones, and they stayed like that. They were the only eyes that didn't pity or scorn him. They were the only eyes that brightened upon seeing him. They were unlike the rest. If you were in danger, Sora, I would throw my life away for you. The white head cackled nervously. Well, that's too much. I better be careful then. Still. She grinned from ear to ear. Your feelings got across. You. They stopped in front of a two-floor house. The lights are on. Seems they're early tonight. Well then, see you tomorrow, Sora. He pushed the fence door open, but stopped when the girl by his side didn't move or say anything. Ni, Yu. Her look went down for the first time and Yu turned back, concerned about the sudden change in her expression. Is something wrong? Listen, about Yua. You're applying, right? His eyes narrowed at her words, and for a moment, she thought she saw a shadow casting itself upon his face. However, the glimmer of his eyes brightened as he looked up again. I'm. She breathed in relief, and her smile grew bigger than ever. All right then, let's do our best. Together. He nodded his head, and it seemed to satisfy her. See you tomorrow, and tell Whisper I said hi. With her big smile, she waved at him and continued running up the hill towards her house, perching on the very top. He kept watching over her till she rounded the corner, and then, with a shaky exhale and heavy steps, he entered the house. I'm home. He didn't receive so much of a reply or a welcome home. Walking through the hall, he glimpsed his father swiping through TV channels and news, while his mother was visible through the kitchen's doorframe preparing their dinner. It seemed like they didn't even notice his arrival. He resumed his walk, up the stairs, and to the very last room on the left, far away from his parents. He entered his room. You're late. A voice shouted from nowhere, making him jump in fear. Soon, an egg-like white head phased through the ceiling. I thought you said you will be early. Can't help it. Needed to finish some work in the extra classes. He was still shaking. The head dropped down, revealing a glowing ghost-like creature glaring down at the purple head. Sora said hi, by the way. Sora. It's been a while since I've seen her in person. Why don't you take me with you to school? The translucent body closed onto the boy, wrapping itself around him, which sent chills running down his spine. We used to hang out together in elementary. Why can't we do the same now? I promise I will hide properly. I can't. We're prohibited from using our quirks, which means I can't bring you with me, and the last time I sneaked you in, you ended up flooding the second floor, and I got a long scolding. He pointed out, however, his lips were quivering at how close the ghost was. HMPH, damn it. Anyway, you shouldn't show your fear, you know. No spirit would respect you like that. He yelled out in his ear, making Yu jump to the side. Forgetting for a second, Whisper was wrapped around his shoulders. I can't help it. I'm not good around your lot. A tick appeared on Whisper's forehead, displeased with his answer. You damn idiot. I don't care if you don't bear us or not. This is your quirk, and you can't turn it off. Be weak. And even the spirits you made contracts with would betray you. Have I made myself clear? Sir? Yes, sir. His voice was shaky and weak, angering Whisper more. I didn't hear you. Sir, yes, sir. Poor Yu was tearing up by then. Whisper backed his face away and folded his tiny arms. There is still a lot you need to learn. We have loads of work to do if we want to get you to Yua. The boy looked at the stack of materials he needed to study before the entrance exam. 10 months didn't seem anything near enough for him. I can't help with your studies. Even back in my life, I was at the bottom of my class. Still, I can help you with your quirk training. Be thankful. It's not like I've asked for. Huh? Sir? Yes, sir. Musutafu Middle School. Everyone, I'm sure you've probably heard this a lot by now, but you're all third years, means it's time you take responsibility for yourselves and take your future into consideration. The blonde teacher stated cheerfully with her usual smile. Her brown eyes quickly scanned all of her students before continuing. I presume all of you are opting for the hero course. As much of a noble profession, it's my job as a teacher is to guide you. You should consider your capabilities and take what you're able to do into account. Not anyone can be a hero. At that, Yu received a kick from the pupil sitting behind him. Heard that, Seijin? She is talking about you. He did his best to ignore him. There are quirks that may shine on other fields. I'll hand prints of your future plans now. You know that once you write something down, you can't change it. Take a moment and think of what you want to be carefully. We teachers are here to help you choose your path. She passed the prints to the pupils, sitting on the first tables, and they passed it on. When it reached Yume, she quickly grabbed a pen and wrote Yue at the very top. Hakuja-san, are you sure? And with a pen, you can't change it later on. It's fine, Yume stated. There is no need to change. It's something I decided since long. Sora's eyes widened in amazement at her friend. Yume is really confident. Even I can't bring myself to write it down immediately. Right, Yue. The purple head snapped upon being called. Uh, yeah, he mumbled. Under his folded arms, written clearly with a pen, Yue was the top choice of his list. Few months later. And rest. With those words, Sora breathed out as she saluted and turned to the older women, bowing to her. Thanks, Grandma. The woman had medium-length silver-white hair held up in a high ponytail, bright azure blue eyes, and a golden halo ring like Sora floating a few inches over her head. However, she strangely didn't seem that much old. It's only 4 months before the entrance exam, right? Grabbing 2 towels and throwing one at her grandchild, she questioned. If we keep with the karate lessons, you will be ready for the practical exam. What about the written exam, though? Are you studying well? I'm either with Yume or Yu. But I think I will invite Yu over for the coming months to study more together. Yume wants to focus more on her training, and I don't want to bother her any longer. Please do. Yu-kun is always welcome in our house. She freed her hair, letting it cascade down her back. How's his training going? He said Whisper is taking care of him, though he seemed shaken. She sweat dropped. Seems his training takes place at dark in haunted places. That's rough. She smiled nervously. Guess it can't be helped with that quirk of his. She glanced over at the young girl who was wiping away her sweat. Dear. Sora blinked and looked up at her grandmother, slightly startled at the concerned look she was giving her. Is this really what you want, going to Yua? There was a moment of silence, a moment where everything seemed to stop. Every other sound seemed to fade away. Only a faint cry from a memory was heard within Sora's mind. I will be a hero and find the truth myself. Her fists tightened around the ends of the towel. It's Grandma. She smiled confidently at her grandmother. I've turned in the papers. There is no going back now. Plus, that's what I really want to do. She took a moment to carefully eye the girl. She was confident and hadn't the slightest weft of doubt. This girl is really like you. She smiled gently. All right then, both you and Yu-kun, do your best to get in, all right? Hi. The bell rang, signaling the end of the day. Everyone gathered their things and drifted through the door in pairs or groups, chatting about their upcoming entrance exams. Yu, before he knew it, an excited Sora swept down on his desk. The entrance exam is nearing. We need to work harder. Grandma promised to make us curry tonight, so we gotta double our work. Oh, right. We covered most of the materials we have. We can make it. That's the spirit. She gave him a thumb up. Anyway, you'll come at 7 p.m., right? You said Whisper is giving you a break today. Yu's sweat dropped, facing backwards. Seems he gave up on me. Don't say that. Whisper is not the kind of ghost to give up on something. She gave him a slap on the back. However, it was too much for Yu that he almost chocked. Anyway, I'll head home first then. Still need to practice with Grandma. She punched the air, startling him. Okay then, see you around 7 p.m. See you? She rushed past the door. It was just then that Yu realized Yume was still there. She cast at him a glare to which he gulped. Its intensity, though for a second, made him shudder. She soon took her leave as well. The purple head stood up, grasping his wrist tightly, as if trying to stop shaking. I'm not giving up on this one thing. He grabbed his bag and left the classroom as well, trudging through the hall in a peculiar way, zigzagging in his tread and mumbling to himself. This was how Yu's everyday life went. Seeing him acting like that made people either wary of him or scorn and bully him. Though knowledge of his quirk clarified things for his classmates, they still liked to pick on him. Ouch! He bumped into someone and fell down. Sorry. Watch out, Wuro, it's you, seijin. Seems telling you to watch out wouldn't work. A chorus of laughter followed. It was 3 of his usual bullies. Sorry, he repeated, hoping they would ignore him. It was around time bullies stopped picking on others and focused on their entrance exams, right? He may get away this time. Except, it wasn't the case. You know, you would live longer if you just look ahead instead of looking down at your feet. Don't say that. You know his quirk, right? He is just afraid to meet some terrifying ghost's eyes or something. It wasn't wrong. He wanted to avoid interaction with them the most possible he could. Man, he has no future. No one would want a hero who would get scared away by an unseen ghost. Behind his back, Yu's hands balled into fists. It's all right. Don't answer to them. And to think he applied to Yua. You got used to those insults. Don't let them piss you off. Can someone like you be a hero? Humanity will perish if that even happened. Don't mind them. Hey, are you ignoring me? I said, I'm sorry. He looked further down. It's true that he feared those ghosts that only he could see. But more than ghosts, he feared the monsters called humans that shunned and scorned him whenever he went. For nothing but being what he was. Tusk. Guess we have to teach him a lesson. Yeah. Make it so he can never go to Yua. Huh. Good idea. The bulkier one reached for the shoes locker behind him and touched it. And in a moment, his arm was the same material and color as it. You will be thankful for us later, for we're saving you the shame and humiliation of failing in front of all those elite. He made for the punch, and Yu quickly held his arms in front of his face to protect himself. However, the contact didn't happen. Daring to open one eye, he glimpsed his attacker bound in glowing blonde hair strings. Quickly looking behind him, their homeroom teacher was standing not far from them, her hair free of her usual bun and restricting the bully. Furuyu-kun, using your quirk in the school is prohibited. I'm afraid I'll have to report this to the principal. She pulled back her hair when she made sure the other boy's intention of harming was totally lost in the worry for what he heard. But, sensei, it's almost the end of the year. If this goes in my record, then you should have thought better of it before attacking Seijin-kun. Apologize immediately. All 3 boys mumbled a remorseless apology to Yu, who finally pulled himself up. We will discuss your punishment tomorrow with the principal. With that, they were sent home. Thank you, sensei. He bowed gratefully to the woman as she pulled her hair back into her bun. That was my obligation as a teacher. More importantly, she squinted at him as he eyed her with a puzzled air. Us teachers are given the duty of guiding and admonishing you in your choices, not only based on your quirks and grades, but also based on your behavior and personalities. She paused and inhaled deeply, carefully picking her next words. Seijin Yu-kun, do you really want to be a hero? He didn't answer. He stood there, most interested in the ground. It was the same look of disregard and pity he received from everyone else. It's no good. The kid has the same quirk as your brother. Tusk. He will be another failure in the family. I have to look after my useless brother, and now I have him too. You understand, little brother. Your quirk is nothing good. You inherited both our parents' quirks, but still, you're useless. You're a failure. What a weirdo. Stay away from him, kids. No one would want a hero who would get scared away by an unseen ghost. I'm scared. I don't want such quirk at all. All those words pilled in his memories broke free and overwhelmed his mind. It was all he could not to give under their weight then and there. However, a voice rose above all the rest which were insulting him, So gentle and delicate, it said. Amazing. So you can see what others can't write. You can even talk to them. Can you befriend them? How do they look? I want to see some too. Man, your quirk is so amazing. It was like a dazzling light that pushed back all of his darkness. It was his reason to live. It was his reason to work hard. It was the reason he wanted to become a hero. And I will become a hero who can protect what he holds dear. He fiddled with his fingers. His eyes didn't go up to meet those of his teacher. He didn't want to see her pitying him. I know I still have a long path to go. I frankly don't have the confidence like Hakuji-sen that I will get in. Yet, I have a reason to not give up and try my best. I know all of you think my quirk isn't good enough. But someone is cheering for me. I have to become a hero, for their sake too. Upon a second look, the teacher sighed. You may not have the skills or confidence, but you do really have the resolve, don't you? Though we're meant to guide you, still, the students will come first. Then from now on, I will cheer for you too. His head snapped up in surprise at that. This kid knows his conditions better than anyone else. If he is that determined, then it'll be rude to pity him after he came this far. For the sake of the ones supporting you, you better become a hero they can depend on. In a flurry of emotions, tears welled up in Yuu's eyes, and he hastily wiped them on his sleeve. High. 4 months later. It was a rough 4 months for all of them. Finishing off their final exams, training and studying for the entrance exam, they hardly had any time to sleep a wink. All 3 of them kept working hard till the very last minute. And finally, the long-awaited day had come. Sora's jaws dropped in amazement at the glorious building perching in front of her. From afar, it seemed to be made of glass. The gates were fully open, welcoming the students coming to take the entrance exam. It was packed with people with different uniforms, as expected of UA that boasts the best education in the country. Everyone from every notch and cranny are aiming for its hero course. Yume stated solemnly, balancing her glasses. It really is the best school anyone can dream of attending. We must get in. Yubu, let's do our best, Sora said, looking at both people on her side. However, Yubu was standing with his back facing the entrance, shaking. So many people. I didn't think there will be that much here. This is terrifying. Whisper, who had wrapped himself around Yuu's shoulders, shook his head tiredly. This kid. Sora's sweat dropped, while Yume merely sighed. She checked on her watch. It's 9:05. We better hurry to our written exam halls. Come on, Yuu. She was tugging on his uniform to pull him to the door. I can't. My legs are getting sluggish. Then I'll drag you there. I hope you won't mind me getting there first. I need to take in the environment to calm my nerves, announced Yume. Sure, go ahead, said Sora before embarking on pulling Yuu again, who now was hiding his face behind his hands, as though he was a criminal fearing to be spotted. This is the worst. Get yourself together. Do you intend to take the exam like this? Whisper shouted at him, making him snap in fear and stand straight. Where is your answer, soldier? Sir? Yes, sir. Geez. Well, guess as long as Whisper is around it will work somehow. Sora smiled before her attention was caught by a curly green head standing still and smiling to himself oddly. What's that guy doing? Even Whisper was at a loss of words seeing him. Had his nerves betrayed him or something? Sora walked off and waved her hand in front of him. You. Hey you. It took a moment for him to snap out of the trance he was in. Are you all right? You're not having a breakdown or something? The boy shook his head rather violently. Oh, okay, I guess. I suggest you hurry up then. There is no much time left. This time he nodded vigorously and strolled to the doors stiffly. Whisper's body extended as his face was now by Sora's side. Is it me? Or is this school attracting strange guys? Sora's eyes, however, were fixed on the boy. Whisper's body squeezed back to normal as Yu approached her. Sora. Hey Yu, don't you think there is something wrong with that guy? Something wrong? Yu's eyes followed hers, and they widened almost immediately. What? In the world? So I'm not mistaken it. This is strange. Whisper kept swiping his eyes between the two of them. The eyes of the angel and those of the spiritual link user. What are they seeing? Either way. Do you think it's time to stop and daydream, soldiers? No, sir. Both saluted him immediately. Good. Now go and ace that written exam. Sir. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, with Midoriya, I talked to 2 girls in a row. The written exam went by rather quickly. Before she knew it, Sora had to pass her paper along with the rest in the long hall. It was the first time in 2 hours that the hall was filled with noise again, for the 2 hours of exam were in utter silence. That was hard. I've left the last 2 questions. She turned back to her 2 friends during the short break they had. Finished it all half an hour early. Yume shrugged. I finished it at the last moment. Yu stated, crouching down by their side, which enticed curious glances from the other students around them. Because you were shaking the whole time, Whisper shouted. That ghost behind me. She was breathing down my neck. He shuddered further, making the white ghost sigh. Anyway, why are you crouching down like that? Yume glanced down at him. I feel safe like this. Safe? You see, because he can see ghosts and yokais, doesn't mean they're tangible for him. She elaborated. However, it seems when we phase through them, they get very angry. We can't see or hear them but for him. So he wants to avoid getting yelled at. Precisely. Continued Whisper. So he huddles on himself to avoid them the most he could. So that's the kind of world you're in. It's the worst. He buried his head in his knees this time. Listen, don't you dare getting all gloomy now. We still have the practical exam. Yu snapped at Whisper's yell and shot up on his feet. Just at that moment, a ball of fire manifested by his right side. Oh, they're coming already. It's about time. Yume checked her watch. We should head to the amphitheater. She led them through the halls of Yua to the dark circular room. Sidling along the chairs, they found themselves a place and settled down. One row beneath them, Yu and Sora saw as the boy from earlier came and sat down with another blonde boy. It seemed that they were from the same school. No longer than they had settled that the lights went on, illuminating present Mike on the rostrum with Yua emblem glistening on the screen behind him. For all you examinee listeners tuning in, welcome to my show today. Everybody say hey. He was met by utter silence. What a refined response. Then I'll quickly present to you the rundown on the practical exam. Are you ready? Yeah. Nothing so much of Whisper was heard. Is he trying to make a show of the exam orientation? Not professional. Whisper sighed. I think it's kind of him to try and lift our spirits. Sora smiled. I didn't know there was a show included. Certainly it isn't. It's just present Mike acting as he pleases. Yume leaned her head on her hand. She looked at the curly head beneath them who was squealing at the hero. Can't believe they allow such people to apply as well. They're not taking the hero course seriously. Eh? Sora blinked at those words coming from her friend. I bet most, if not all, of them are just applying because they liked heroes since childhood. But not all of them are ready to bear the load that comes with it. The hardship, the pain, the pressure, and the losses. They're not ready to take that much. Yume seemed more serious than Sora had ever seen her. As it says in the application requirements, they once again focused on Mike. You listeners will be conducting 10-minute mock urban battles after this. The screen behind him elaborated more about the test as he spoke. You can bring whatever you want with you. After the presentation, you'll head to the specified battle center. Okay? There was a wave of silence again as they all checked their papers. A. We're on different places. She casted a look at the two by her sides. I'm in D. I'm C, said Yume as she held her paper up. They want to make us depend on ourselves. No helping each other. F. Yu gulped. Sounds like a bad omen. F for failures. That's how you'll be if you don't put your heart in this. Whisper stated. I don't think I have the heart anymore. Whisper's body tightened around Yu, almost strangling him. What's with that now? And he embarked in a long lecture. 3 different types of foe villains are stationed in each battle center. The screen showed a small city along with 3 giant shadows, each labeled with its allocated points. You earn points for each of them based on their level of difficulty. The scene changed to that of a game as Present Mike's avatar walked through the game and defeated the villains, earning points. Your goal, dear listeners, is to use your quirks to earn points by immobilizing the foe villains. Of course, attacking other examinees and any other unheroic actions are prohibited. The blonde hero wagged his finger at them. May I ask a question? A rather bulky boy shot up with his hand raised high. Okay? A pitch of light was casted upon him, revealing him. He was quite tall, with blue hair perfectly combed and a pair of half-rimmed rectangular glasses. On the printout, there are 4 types of villains. If that is a misprint, then UA, the most prominent school in Japan, should be ashamed of that foolish mistake. We examinees are here in this place because we wish to be molded into exemplary heroes. He, Sora blinked in surprise. He really is a serious kid. She whispered to Yume. The blue-haired male whirled over, pointing his finger at the green-haired boy. In addition, you over there with the curly hair. You've been muttering this whole time. It's distracting. I'm sorry. The curly-haired boy mumbled through his hands. You too. His finger now pointed at Yu and Whisper, who was still lecturing him. I have no idea what that thing is. But if you have something to sort, then do it elsewhere. Also, shut that glowing fire of yours. There was 2 balls of blue fire hovering by either sides of Yu by then. You, Whisper forgot about Yu and was about to launch on him if it wasn't for the purple head wrapping his arms around his large head and restricting him. I'm sorry. I'll keep him calm. As for the fire, sorry, I can't do much about it. This didn't seem to please him. If you're here on a pleasure trip, then you should leave immediately. Very strict. Sora though. Okay. Examinee number 7111. Thanks for the great message. Mike managed to pacify him. A 4th shadow then appeared on the screen. However, much to everyone's bewilderment, it was labeled 0 points. The 4th type of villain is worth 0 points. That guy's an obstacle, so to speak. There is one in every battle center, an obstacle that will go crazy in narrow spaces. It's not impossible to defeat, but there's no reason to defeat it either. The game scene appeared again, though with Present Mike running away from the villain this time. I recommend that you listeners try to avoid it. Thank you very much. Please excuse the interruption. The boy bowed and settled down. He is definitely from an elite school. Yume commented. I see. It's like the obstacles you avoid in video games, huh? The whole thing is like a video game. That's all from me, said Present Mike. Finally, I'll give you listeners a present, our school motto. The hero Napoleon Bonaparte once said, a true hero is someone who overcomes life's misfortune. Go beyond, plus ultra. The motto flashed with large letters across the screen. There was no reaction from anyone so far. Only Sora was clapping her hands. Sora? Well, nobody answered to him, so I felt sorry about that. He is doing his best to cheer us up, right? Now, everyone, good luck suffering. Yu gulped. Did he just say, suffering? Yume glanced over at the white-haired girl. You were saying? She chuckled awkwardly. My bad. They first went to change. Once Yu stepped out of the changing room in black pants, blue short-sleeved t-shirt and white and green sneakers. He had 3 blue flares flattering around him. That seemed to catch Yume's attention, who was the first to get out of the girls' changing room. She was in a white and green tracksuits, pink sneakers, and a kusarigama was attached to her suit. "Sora isn't done yet?" Whisper asked, always wrapped around the boy. "She will be done in a few seconds." Emerald eyes narrowed at the boy in front of her. "You really are stubborn. Didn't I tell you to give up? Do you want to always drag her back?" She flung her hand at the changing room. Yuu's look dropped. "I don't want. That's why I'm here." "Nonsense." She folded her arms. "If you really cared for her, you should have known where to stop. I'm saying this because I want the best for her. I'm just glad we were assigned to different battle centers." With that, she strolled away from him. Whisper seemed taken aback by that. "Did something happen between you two?" Yu didn't say anything, merely looking down, and his bang covered his upper face. The buckets of water dropped down as their holders froze in place. Yumi sighed as she put on her glasses again and casted a look at the boy on the ground who reached for his soaked notes. Her eyes narrowed at him. "It's no use." His eyes snapped wide open at those words. "Putting aside your quirk, you yourself can't do it. You can't be a hero." He looked up at her, slightly stunned. For someone who just saved him from the bullies who were saying the same thing moments ago, he didn't see it coming. "You want to go to UA too, right? Seijin-kun, you better not." His hands tightened in fists. "You will just drag Sora's feet like this. She will have to look after you again and again. If you keep sticking around her, you won't allow her to get stronger. You're nothing but a burden to her." His lips quivered. I may not be strong. That's why I want to get there. That's why." "You're selfish. Don't you care about Sora's future?" "I do." That was probably the only time she heard him raise his voice. "I really do. That's why. I want to be able to be of help to her. That's why." "What someone like you can do? Huh? Getting picked on every day. Can't even defend yourself." Sora had always stepped in to help you. She would always do. But you can't do anything for her. She pointed her finger at him as if accusing him. "Can you help her? Can you support her when she is down? Can you correct her when she is wrong? You can't do anything. You've been always in her shadow. You will always be." She took in a breath, trying to calm herself down. She didn't expect to burst out at him. She had seen both of them up close, and she definitely couldn't stand him. For her, he wasn't any better than those weakling trudging behind the strong to keep themselves safe. "I fail to see why she would stick around you all the time, even if you're childhood friends." Seeing that he had no reply to her, she whirled around to leave. "Just do her a favor and stop holding her back. Sora deserves more. For her sake, don't apply to Yua. She will end up helping you in the entrance exam as well." She started strolling away, yet stopped on her tracks and casted one last look at the boy who pulled himself up. "I won't." Her eyes narrowed. Selfish. Yuu's hands balled till his knuckles went white in color. "I will definitely get into Yua. That's the spirit, kid." Whisper slapped him on the back. "Ah, Yu," Whisper. Sora came out of the changing room, clad in a white hoodie vest with short sleeves, beneath the knee black bike shorts and cyan sneakers. She waved and ran off to them. "Glad you're here. I can wish you good luck." She casted a look around, but didn't see her other friend. "Guess Yume just went ahead, right? Well, our rides are awaiting us. We need to hurry. Good luck again." He nodded. "Good luck to you too." She then hurried off towards the bus with the letter D printed on it. She stood along 50 other people in front of a large metallic gate. So large? Are the other ones the same size at this? Just how much territory Yua has? Everyone around her were mumbling or trying to calm themselves down. She would be lying if she said she wasn't nervous. But she shook her head as if trying to shake away some bad thoughts. Get yourself together, shirogane Sora. You decided to become a hero. So give it your best shot. Huh, what's that? A blimp? It's. Everyone glanced up the sky upon hearing that. True for that. A blimp with the school emblem was floating overhead. It has a screen attached to it, one that was broadcasting President Mike's picture. Okay, start, he yelled. Eh? What's wrong? There are no countdowns in real fights. Run, run. The die has been cast, you know. Everyone immediately rushed through the gates and fanned within the routes of the city. This is bad. I was late to react. Before she knew it, she heard smashing noises and glimpsed pieces of robot armors flying up. They're already starting. Guess I have to go for it then. Wings started growing out of her back. Just as she kicked the ground and flew upward, she was just in time to avoid a 2-point robot's attack. That was close. She flapped her large wings and dropped with a neck-breaking speed on the robot. With a single kick aiming at the torso, she managed to break it, earning her first points. If it's robots, then they don't have auras. I can't predict their moves. Also, she looked at the other examinees in that place. That robot stood still and focused on me, even after I flew out of its reach. It could have gone for any other moving target. Which means, she smirked widely as she realized it, soaring ahead at a high speed and passing by each robot she could encounter. After a minute or so, her guess was proven right as a bunch of them kept chasing after her. A lock-on system, huh? So you guys won't leave me alone until either of us is over. With a quick beat of her wings, she was flying in the other direction, back towards the robots. All it took is a punch and a kick as she sped through them, and she already had 14 points. Oi, for real. How did she? Watch out. Both boys didn't realize the 3 points sneaking behind them. But in a split second, she was already in front of them. They couldn't see her, only the strong wind issued by her as she passed them. With a roundhouse kick, she took down the 3-point. Incredible strength. This is no human thing. She merely breathed out. Eh? Didn't she just take down our prey? You did that on purpose. Upon hearing that, a tick manifested on her head. She whirled to face them with an annoyed smile. You know, I just saved you guys. I could have gone and earned myself another 10 points by now. They didn't have the words to retort. Well then, good luck with the rest. She flew away and rested on a high roof, trying to search for more robots. Yume would have said I was being stupid. 6 minutes and 2 seconds left, President Mike announced. Man, now I've done it. Because I rushed to help them, I've missed my chance. Now most robots should have locked on someone. She glanced over her shoulder and back at her white wings. And I can't use those for a long time. I've got to catch up. She spread her wings to fly and find more robots. However, her eyes caught something. It was an orange-haired girl with a mob of robots on her tail. It seemed like she managed to figure out the same thing as Sora, so she tried to lure as many of them. However, Sora could see it was too much for her, and the girl was sprinting down a nearby alley with a dead end. It wasn't like she could see it from her spot, but once reaching the end, she will be cornered. That's bad. Sora's first thoughts were to save her. But before she would do so, Yume's words rang in her ears. You're always rushing over. She stopped and thought of it. Yume would have said that it wasn't time to worry about others. Now her points weren't near what others had earned and half the time had passed. Most of the robots were littered on the ground by then. Her wings will be out of order soon. And if she helps her, she will be out. That was the logical way of thinking, yet. Just at that moment, the whole city trembled. Smoke erupted from the other side of the field. That's. Her red eyes widened as she saw what was coming. It was a gigantic robot. Even by passing through the street, it caused glass to shatter. No one said it was this huge, she complained. Even being that far from it, she could see it clearly. One punch from it causing a vigor wind that pushed some of the examinees of their feet. Most of them were rushing away from it, not wanting to get caught. I should go there. The confusion is a chance for me. Still, her eyes darted back to the girl she saw from earlier, and as predicted, she was cornered. I want to be a hero and find the truth myself. You're always rushing over. Her eyes wandered in between the 0 point and the girl. What are you doing, Sora? More than you are. What was it that you wanted? Be it as trivial or plain as people may see it. But we should always reach out for those in front of us. Sora zoomed through the air, reaching to the whereabout of the other examine. Hand up. Upon hearing that, green eyes narrowed as she held her hand high. Sora swept down, grasped it, and hurriedly rushed upwards away from the swarm. I thought I could handle them after gathering many. Didn't expect to get cornered. The girl was frustrated with herself. Sora casted a look at the giant robot. It was miles away from them. They're coming after us. Sora's eyes snapped back. True, the mob of bots were on their tail. They won't leave us alone. With the lock-on system, it was all but impossible to escape. Less than 2 minutes left. Sora gritted her teeth as she racked her brain for some idea to get them out of that dilemma. Are you okay? Can you still fight? The girl's fist magnified in response. Ah, I wasn't hurt. Lower the attitude. I will deal with them. Sora did as she was told, and the other female swung her gigantic hand around, thrashing away the robots. Yosh! Be careful. Some of them clung to her hand, pulling her towards the ground. She struggled to get free, but their weight together was much for her. Albeit Sora wouldn't let go of her easily. How persistent for robots. She dug through her pockets and pulled a few throwing knives, throwing them at the ones clinging on the giant hand and forcing them back. There was another tremor, closer this time, and a wave of wind. Sora managed to hold still in front of it. But debris were thrown off by the strong gale and headed their way. No, you're not. She used her giant hand as a shield. All the thrown debris came ramming into it, which made her wince in pain. When the wind died, both girls were panting heavily. At that moment, they could see it clearly, the large form of the 0 point. It turned around towards them, and its visors glistened. 1 minute left. Oi, does this mean? It locked us on. Sora quickly zoomed as far away as she could from the robot. Let go of me. I will slow you down. No, you're not. We're getting out of this together. The 0 point was still following after them, stretching its hand as to capture them. Sora was doing her best to keep a safe distance. This is bad. I'm nearing my limit. She glanced down at the girl holding to her hand. It's not the right time to think about that. Be it whatever it be, I'm saving her. No matter how I'll. Time's up. Just when the giant hand almost closed around them, the sound of a siren blared through the whole place. The huge robot stopped inches from them. Both girls dropped to the ground, tired and shaken. We're saved. In a few minutes, they were all talking about what they had done, how much points they gained, and commenting on each other's quirks. Thanks for helping me out there. The orange head smiled at Sora, who scratched the back of her head nervously. It was nothing, really. And you saved me back then from the flying debris. But if you hadn't come, I would have been caught up in there and probably got run over by the 0 point. Thank you again, huh? Ah, shirogane Sora. I see. I'm Kendo Itsuka. Kendo-san, thank you for today. Okay, good work. They heard thudding approaching them. Looking back, an old lady leaning on what seemed like a large syringe. Her hair pulled up into a netted bun and secured with a smaller syringe. Good work, good work. Have some gummies. You too. That's recovery girl, U.S. nurse. Kendo elaborated. She must have been roaming around all centers healing injured people. It must be tough for her. Why would they make such dangerous tests in the first place? Here you too. Kendo snapped when Recovery Girl offered her some gummy bears. And you too. You must be tired after that hard work. Thanks, she said, taking her gummies. Well, seems no one here is in need of a kiss. Thankfully. You all did well. You can all go home and get some rest then. With that, their entrance exam has ended. Yu, she waved at him as soon as he reached the main gate along with Whisper. She was waiting there with Yume, who, more or less, seemed displeased. Then, how did you do? How much points you got? I had 17. I had 12. He looked down. Think we should wait for the results to come. Yume shrugged. Even if there were those who had above 30, I doubt Yu has any chance. He looked down at the boy. That's why I told you, you should leave him be. I couldn't. Enough, Sora piped in. You know what? We're all tired and hungry. So let's go back home and rest well. We did our best after all, nothing to feel sorry about. She has a point, muttered the ghost. Then let's go, said Yume as she walked ahead of them back to the station. So, when the results are coming up. The purple head blinked as it was unusual for his parents to address him on the dining table. In 1 week. And you really think Yue will take someone like you? I bet you didn't do well in the entrance exam. His mother's words made it hard for him to swallow the mouthful of rice he just had. I don't know. Well, there is always still some other options. I can have my friends find you a part-time job first. His father stated nonchalantly. I didn't give up. Huh? What do you mean? Thanks for the meal. He placed down the chopsticks and left behind a half-full plate. If I just left him. Run, run. The die has been cast, you know. By the time he snapped out of it, everyone had already advanced. What are you doing? A voice called out as one of his 3 flames dropped down and enlarged. Soon he was riding a large white fox with 9 tails that manifested out of the blue fire. You will be left behind. The fox rushed at full speed, jumping overhead the rest of the examinees and taking down one of the robots under its weight. Nice way to go, Kyubai. Now we have 3 points, Whisper cheered. Focus, Iwu. We need to work together. The fox reared her head at the boy. You're my master. I can't do much without you. Yu nodded as he held on to Kyubai. Everyone are trying to gather points hastily. But we need to get ahead of them. How? Whisper closed into him. We should focus on the 3 points. He pointed at a bunch of robot ahead of them. If we take as much of them as we could. I see. We can take the lead. Good thinking, soldier. Whisper slapped his back, almost knocking him out. Hold on tightly, she rushed ahead, taking another 3 points as she used it as a stepping stone. Foxtail Inferno. Each of her tails had a blue fire at its end before she discharged them at the foe villain, earning another 3 points. Cool, we're taking the lead. Whisper was shaking Yu ecstatically. It's not. But we can save our energy more this way. With Kyubai's speed, it should be easy. We better hurry before the others embark in battle as well. She bounced from one wall to another in the search for their target. Whisper as well was whirling around in order to glimpse one. There, by the convenience store, he pointed at a 3 points chasing after a girl. Kyubai nimbly changed her direction and dropped on it, smashing it under her weight. Way to go. Let's keep this spirit. To the next one. Kyubai quickly rushed away, jumping from one roof to another. 6 minutes and 2 seconds left. This quickly. Hurry up, Kyubai. And Yu too. Use your eyes more, soldier. The ghost was whirling Yu's head around to look for more targets. However, what he saw was something else. Kyubai, get back, he yelled. Kyubai immediately backed, just as what seemed like a huge ball of rubber zoomed through where they were. The ball was bouncing around in between the buildings, gaining more speed and power. Upon second look, Yu could see it was no ball, but a human huddled on themselves like one. Whisper seemed to notice that too. What's that? Didn't this guy hear that it's prohibited to attack other examinees? They could see that they were bumping robots and humans all along. Something must be wrong with them. Kyubai, please get closer. Kyubai was slightly surprised by that. Whisper was enraged. Listen, it's not time to worry about others now. If we don't hurry with gathering points, we will be disqualified. I have to agree with Whisper, Yu. Yu pursed his lips as the ghost shouted. If you lose your time here, you won't be able to get to Yua. They must have some extra plans to deal with things like this. Let's leave it to the UA team. Yu truly didn't want to lose his time. Losing the chance to get into Yua means losing everything. He didn't want to imagine the satisfied smirks on his parents' faces when he returns home defeated. Meanwhile, the person rampaging down the street plunged into the glass windows, breaking them and bouncing off. Yu's eyes widened when he spotted threads of red coming out of their body. And I will become a hero who can protect what he holds dear. Kyubai, go after them. Yu. His lips quivered slightly. If I can't act to help the one in front of me now, how can I ever protect those close to me? Nonsense. This is nonsense. Whisper's translucent white face was shifting to red. Are you sacrificing your own dream? This way you won't really be able to protect anything. Even though, what someone like you could do. Please, Kyubai. Kyubai stayed silent, as if making sure of his resolve. Your stamina will be over soon. Then I will dissipate. You won't be able to earn any more points. It's fine. Just. A rumble was heard nearby. Whisper twisted his ghostly body so he could get a glimpse of what was happening. The point is right behind us. Kyubai's head reared one more time, checking her master's expression before finally nodding. Hold tight. She jumped from the rooftop, just as the 0 point grasped it for support. She dived down at a high speed and did a somersault midair to land properly, then sprinted down the route, catching up with the human bouncing ball. Yu. At this speed I can't catch up. Trembling as he was, Yu hunched over, his purple eyes shining brightly as he poured from his energy onto her. Kyubai's speed increased as she managed to follow the other examinee. Hey you, the purple head shouted through the wind. Slow down. I can't. By the voice it was pretty obvious the person was a boy. Get away before you're hurt. Less than 2 minutes left. Yu had to duck his head as the other boy unintentionally bounced towards him. Can't he turn off his quirk? Whispered questioned. It seems his quirk makes him as flexible as rubber. Kyubai explained. If he shut it down at that speed, he will. She felt Yu's grasp tighten on her fur. Then, we have to stop him. It's impossible, with those random moves, Whisper shouted, wondering if he was the only one being logical there. And we're not out of the 0 point range yet. It could come for us. All the more reason to help him. Yu. You can do it. Kyubai. With your speed. 1 minute left. The white fox nodded. Then I will pour my very last onto you. Please save him. Feeling the energy surging through her, Kyubai's speed increased. She overtook the other boy and sprinted ahead of him. I will. She skidded to a halt and bolted back, with her momentous increased speed and power. Leaping on the rubber-like boy, she managed to pin him down into the ground, causing a crack due to the force. If the boy's body wasn't rubber back then, it would have smashed under the force. Did I overdo it? Time's up. The sound of a siren lingered in the area. Kyubei sighed and looked down at the boy on the ground. It seems he was knocked out. By the look of it, his body was back to normal. He had few wounds from his rampaging, but other than that, he was unharmed. She looked back at the boy who passed out on her back, but still clenching tightly to her. This is what you wanted, right, Yule? Her body was becoming transparent by the second. Now that her master was out of stamina, she could no longer hold a physical form. Gently she lowered and laid him on the ground. I will leave the rest for you, whisper. The ghost nodded before she was completely gone. Yu shut the door of his room and slumped face down on his bed. He was still tired and beaten up from the test. Even Recovery Girl couldn't do much for him, seeing his stamina was almost drained. You're an idiot, you know. Whisper's head phased through the ceiling, upside down with a deep scowl. An irritated air visible all around him. I know. Yui sighed, burying his head in the pillow further. If I just left him, I could have passed. But he closed his eyes. I don't regret it. And he drifted away to sleep. The week went by in the blink of an eye. During it, Sora was trying to drown her worries with her karate lessons with her grandmother. Yu embarked on studying almost immediately while skimming through other possible hero courses. News of Yume, however, were as much as none. She didn't just avoid Yu after the exam, but also Sora. Even in school, she would reach the classroom a few moments before their teacher, leave it right away after the bell, and vanish into thin air during recess and lunch break. So any contact with her was almost impossible. They weighed the few left days until their letters come home, trying to avoid thinking about that very subject, albeit failing. All they could think about was how they would be refused due to their fail in the practical exam. Even the nearing of their graduation ceremony wasn't enough to take their minds from that. That very day, Sora had just finished a training session with her grandmother and headed straight to the kitchen for a gulp of water. You're getting better. I have nothing to teach you anymore. The older woman complimented her from the doorway, wiping away her sweat. You're exaggerating. She opened her water bottle. I still can't catch up with your moves. Well, that's experience. But I'm serious. I can no longer teach you anything new, Sora. She elaborated as she walked down the hallway and to the front door. Experience, huh? I need to get more experience myself to become a hero. Her eyes narrowed at that thought. Would she be able to become one, though? Sora, her grandmother called from the front door. Sora, hurry up. Sora rushed down the hall, hitting her toe on the table leg, but she didn't even bother about that. All she wanted was to reach her grandma as soon as possible. Her heart was throbbing rapidly in her chest. She had a feeling. No, she was sure what it was. When she reached her, her grandmother whirled around, slightly stunned as she held a white envelope with US symbol embroidered on its red seal. It's here. She knew it. With a shaky hand, she received the envelope from the older woman. It was heavy and puffed. Standing there in the hallway and staring down at the symbol, two feelings were fighting over her: curiosity for what it was inside, and dread of the inevitable failing news she was getting. A gentle hand was deposited on her shoulder, pulling her out of her trance. Her grandmother smiled at her gently. You can read it in your room if you want. Sora, however, shook her head. You've helped me a lot, Grandma. You deserve to know what's inside as much as me. They shifted to the living room. Sitting down to the table, Sora took in a shaky breath and unsealed the envelope with a shaking hand. What first came to sight was a circular device. She flipped the letter on her hand, retrieving a paper and the small device. That. Her grandmother too didn't have the slightest idea what the device might be. As soon as Sora set it on the table, it issued a dim light, one that revealed a rectangular projection. So it's a projector. This is annoying. I don't get why we should film these videos every year. They should know I hate these kind of things. The man on the record didn't seem to realize it even started. He had messy long black hair that hung over his half-closed tired eyes. The bottom of his face was hardly visible because of some kind of scarf he was wearing. A hand appeared on the corner of the projection, miming something to the black-haired man. It already started. Well, there is no use hitting around the bush then. Let's cut to the chase. Shirogane Sora, although you barely passed the written exam, you scored 17 points on the practical one. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough to pass. The white head gulped, and her fists tightened in frustrating. Her grandmother stroked her back for comfort. Or so you would think. She snapped up and stared at the video, bewilderment apparent on her face. The man scratched his cheek. Well, I have to explain first. Your exam was not graded on villain points only. Eh? It's not rational for a hero course to turn a blind eye on those who choose to do the right thing, saving others at any costs. That's exactly the foundation of this job. How can we ignore those with potential? Her eyes widened in expectancy. Rescue points. Points given by a panel of judges who were watching everything that was happening. Shirogane Sora, with 17 villain points and 45 rescue points, you're 7th in rank. Meaning you secured your place in UA. You passed. Tears welled up in Sora's eyes. Her hand clapped around her mouth to hold back a gasp. Her grandmother hugged her tightly, all proud and happy that tears fled her eyes as well. The man smiled widely. It was the first she had seen the bottom half of his face. From now on, this is your hero academia. And the record stopped. Sora sat there, gasping and wiping her tears. I've done it. Grandma, I've done it. Well done, Sora. She petted her head. Now, you're on the start of becoming a hero. You should hold yourself together. Sora looked back, eyes and nose red, but the smile wider than ever it was. Yeah? Yu was looking through the mail. A facture, a postcard from his brother, another facture. His eyes landed on a certain puffed envelope. They widened, and he promptly tossed the rest of the mail on the counter before tearing up the stairs and back to his room. He slammed the door shut behind him and leaned back on it, gaping his mouth at the letter. What's with the noise? I was trying to nap. Whisper's head phased through the ceiling, his eyes half closed and all irritated at being awakened by the rushed footsteps and the door's slam. It's here, Whisper. The Yua letter. At that, all traces of sleep flew off Whisper's eyes. Really, open it up. He flew next to the boy. Should I? He gulped, as though he was holding a bomb set to explode any moment soon. I mean, I know I've failed the practical exam. Stop being all gloomy and open it up. I want to see what's in there. He pulled and squashed the boy's jaws, making him wince in pain. All right, all right. He tore the envelope from one side and retrieved the contents. A video projector. His brow rose upward at the small machine. He sat by the desk and deposited it, to which it activated, projecting a video of present Mike. Yo, welcome, male listener. It's time we reveal your test results. Present Mike? Ah, that loudly lunatic. Whisper was rather annoyed at the sight of the blonde man. Seijin Yu, I'm glad to inform you that you were one of the few who aced the written exam. Me. You've always been the smart boy. Whisper shrugged. However, your performance in the practical exam wasn't that good. With 12 villain points, you could not make it to the bigger stage. He wagged a finger at the camera. As I thought. His eyes were casted down. What was I waiting for? I knew I was behind the rest. Yet, you did. What? Whisper's jaw literally dropped to the ground at that. If Yu could do the same, he would have. Yua is full of surprises, listener, even from this moment. Rescue points, he said, spreading his arms dramatically. You've been given points on your heroic and selfless actions. Seijin Yu, In addition to your 12 villain points, you've earned 52 rescue points, making you 6th in rank. You've passed. You hear that? You hear that, Yu? You passed. You did it. Whisper was beside himself, shaking the boy vigorously. Giant droplets of tears fell upon Yu's hands. He couldn't believe it. He made it to his dream school. Memories of all the hard work he had done, of all the insults and disdain he received from his peers and family rushed before him. Yet, he felt a strange satisfaction when he recalled all of it. To think his efforts would pay off. He was overflown with all kind of emotions. I did my best, he said, wiping his eyes on his sleeve. Whisper smiled proudly at him. You did. And now all that hard work of yours is giving its fruit. He looked back at the projection. Now, this is the beginning of your own show. Welcome to your hero academia. The boy sniffed, still moping his tears. Thank you. Yu. That afternoon, Sora passed by his house. Did you get it? Did you get it? How did you do? Sora. His eyes became moist and bursted in tears. He had almost drowned her. I did it. I got in. I knew you would do it. Glad for you. Shut those tabs. Whisper wringed his neck, forcing him to stop crying before turning to the whitehead. And then, what about Yume? Sora fiddled around with her fingers. You didn't get in. But I thought you said you did well. She clenched her hand around the paper she had received earlier. I didn't see that coming. The rescue points and the villain points I got weren't near enough. It can't be, Yume. It's fine. I had prepared for the worst case scenario. I had the feeling that 34 villain points weren't enough after all. Her eyes glanced down at the application paper for Shiksu. I will forge a new path for myself. You don't have to worry about me. But a gentle smile manifested on her lips. You're such a gentle and kind person, Sora. You deserve to shine on the highest stage. Do your best. And she ended the call. Yu's swing stopped as he glanced over at Sora. So, that's what she said. Sora looked up as she continued to rock on hers. She aced the written exam. Well, it's expected from the top of our class. But her quirk wasn't any help for the practical test. She scored 34 points while depending on her own skills and the weapon she had brought with her. It was admirable, yet she didn't concern herself with anyone else, so her rescue points were 0. She couldn't pass. Yu looked down. Although he wasn't on the best of terms with her, but she did deserve to get in. She had worked hard too, he had seen it. She managed that hard mock battle only depending on her physical strength and judgment. For some reason, I feel I don't deserve it now. He so much as fainted as soon as he saved the boy with the rubber quirk. Don't say that, Sora jumped off her swing. It's frustrating that, despite all what she had done, she didn't get in. But you too worked hard. And you chose to sacrifice all of that to save someone in need. You've earned that fair and square. Whisper is right. Plus, I don't think Yume would want to hear that. Yu bit on his bottom lip. He had the feeling that he should work even harder than before, so he could really earn it. Yu. He looked up at the white head standing in front of him. She extended a hand at him and smiled broadly. Let's be heroes together, Yu. He took a moment before a smile was drawn on his face and nodded, taking her hand. Just like that day years ago. They both walked out the gym along with their class, clad in their uniforms, a flower clipped onto the right side of their chests, and their diplomas in hand. Sora's grandmother was among the rest of the parents, clapping and wiping a tear from her face. Seeing her, Sora waved happily. With her height among the rest of the students, she really seemed like a child. Yu, on the other hand, was craning his neck around, trying to glimpse even the shadow of his parents from in between the sea of students. However, they weren't there. They didn't bring themselves to come to his graduation ceremony. Yume watched over him from the back of the row. And when they disassembled, each talking with their families or their juniors, she approached him when he was all alone. Congratulations on making it to Yua. That seemed to take him by surprise. He stuttered a thank you and rubbed the back of his head, not knowing what else to do. Yume solely sighed. You should fix that confidence issue of yours. You've got into Yua. You want to be of help to Sora, so you better start doing so. Yuu's eyes wandered around as he tried to ask. Ano, Hakuja-san. She was my hero. Yume stated, having figured out what he wanted to say. Back in elementary, and because of my family situation, I was picked on, just because Dad left us. Rumors spread among kids that we had drove him to his limit and that forced him to leave. I was left all alone. At some point, I started believing those words as well. Until the day Sora approached me. She was the one who pulled me up. Despite being in different classes, she was spending her breaks with me, even when I said I wanted to become a hero to support my mother. She never judged me, on the contrary, she encouraged me. She looked up at Yu. I want her to be as she is. The hero who can help everyone. So, you better not hold her back. Yu's hands clenched around his diploma. I won't. She inspected him carefully. So you know, I hate selfish people the most. I had enough. I want to live my own life freely. Her dad's last words rang as clear as the school's bell in her ears. You better support her. She bowed and left to find her mother. Yu looked after her as she walked away. We're alike, huh? Yu, hurry up. We're gonna be late, she called from the front gate of his house. Right there, he looked back at the hall. I'm off. Still, no response. He walked out and met with the girl outside, both now wearing their UA uniforms. Yu had Whisper wrapped around his shoulders in addition. It really suits you. You think so? He scratched the back of his head. She nodded with her eyes sparkling before she performed a twirl in front of him. What do you think of mine? You look gorgeous. The smile on her face broadened. Soldiers, you'll be late, run. They were cut by Whisper shouting at them, his head triple its normal size. Crap, let's hurry. She grasped Yu's wrist, tagging him as she ran to the station. Hold on, Sora. Yu. She looked back at him and grinned from ear to ear. This is our first step to becoming heroes. Yu's eyes widened slightly before he finally smiling back and nodding. Yeah. Sora gaped at the large door on which was painted 1A. That was their classroom door. I didn't know UA's doors are that large. Is it for accessibility purposes? Yu wondered. Whisper's sweat dropped. This UA is just getting weirder. I'm excited to meet our new classmates, aren't you? Her hand rested on the handle. Hope they're all nice. Wait, Sora. He was late. She pushed the door open and walked in. Good morning, everyone. Everyone turned back to her. Half the class was there already. Yu's eyes met with a certain glasses-wearing boy, and he quickly stepped back into the hall. We're in the same class as that boy. He gulped, remembering the entrance exam day. What's wrong, Yu? Sora approached him, concerned. You too. Yu flinched as the blue-haired male walked to them. US students should always arrive 10 minutes early. 10 minutes. I've never heard of such rule, Whisper complained, still irritated with the other guy. Sorry, we kind of lost our way on the school ground. It's frankly huge. Sora scratched the back of her head awkwardly. I see. Well then, it couldn't be helped. I shall show you around if you still don't know your way, he said, waving his hands up and down in a robotic way. Really, thanks. We're classmates after all. We should help each other. Surprisingly, he is a kind person. Whisper commented in bewilderment. I'm from Sumi Private Academy, Uda Tenya. Who? Sumi? That famous one. You must be smart, Sora marveled. And rich, Whisper murmured. I'm Shirogane Sora from Musatafu Junior High. And this is my friend. She pointed back at Yu, trying to utter a word. I'm Seijin Yu, from Musatafu Junior High too. He tried avoiding eye contact with the male. Maybe he wouldn't recognize him. It was a fat chance given Whisper's existence. I'm sorry about the other day. Yu blinked. He didn't expect an apology right then. I may have misjudged you too. Hope we can work together for the rest of the year. We're in your hands there, Adaku. Get away. You're blocking the door. Someone bumped their shoulder into hers on their way in. It was a blond boy with crimson eyes. From the split-second glimpse she got of him, he seemed angry at something. He walked to one of the seats and slumped down, crossing his legs on the table. Wah, what are you doing? Ida walked over at him in a rather robotic gait. This is a disrespect. He is really strict. Yuu's sweat dropped. But he seems kind and dependable. Glad to have him as a classmate. Sora smiled before she scanned the class. Let's resume our seats as well. When she checked the blackboard, there was no seating chart. Yay, we could pick what seats we want. She took the last seat on the left side, while Yu sat behind a black-haired girl who had her hair pulled up high in a ponytail. Was she there in the entrance exam? I don't recall seeing her, Whisper asked. Maybe she got in through recommendation. 4 out of 44 students in UA are. The other 40 are chosen from the entrance exam. Yu whispered back to him. 40? Geez, you're lucky you got in. They watched as the bicker between the blonde boy and Ida continued on. It only stopped when the curly-haired guy from the entrance exam, who was called Midoriya, walked in, making Ida turn to him. His appearance disturbed Sora and Yu for a moment. They couldn't overlook the wrong feeling about him. Sora considered seriously walking to him when a brunette girl joined him in Ida, and they could see her brandishing around her fist. This place really attracts weirdos. Whisper grunted at the idea of passing a whole year there. Sora's eyes went in the direction of the blonde boy from earlier. He seemed even more irritated, if that was possible. Suddenly, the noise at the door faded. At first glance, Sora thought she saw a giant yellow worm laid by the doorway. Upon second look, it was someone in a sleeping bag. Once they stepped out, she recognized the teacher on her recorded letter. I'm your homeroom teacher, Aizawa Shota. Nice to meet you. How she could hear him was beyond her. His voice was so sleepy and weak to reach the end of the class, even for her super hearing. Everyone else seemed shocked to know he was their homeroom teacher, seeing how haggard he looked. It's kind of sudden, but put this on and go out onto the field, he said, taking out a tracksuit from his sleeping bag. Does he keep ones for the whole class in there? The rest of the class blinked in utter surprise. A quirk assessment test? They questioned upon reaching the ground. What about the entrance ceremony? The orientation? The brunette asked. If you're going to become a hero, you don't have time for such leisurely events. Aizawa murmured, not bothering to look at them. UA's selling point is how unrestricted its school traditions are. That's also how the teachers run their classes. Sora gulped. She could feel a dangerous aura around him. He was up to something. She could tell. Everyone, uneasy as they were, listened on to him. You kids have been doing these since junior high, too, right? Physical fitness tests where you weren't allowed to use your quirks. Yuu's face went blue. Fitness tests. You weren't good with them since elementary, right? Whisper shook his head with a defeated sigh. The country still uses averages taken from results from students, not using their quirks. It's not rational. Well, the Ministry of Education is procrastinating. Aizawa elaborated. Bakugo, you finished at the top of the practical exam, right? The blonde snapped at being addressed all of a sudden. In junior high, what was your best result for the softball throw? 67 meters. Then, try doing it with your quirk. He threw a ball with blue lining to him. The blonde took his spot. You can do whatever you want as long as you stay in the circle. Hurry up. Give it all you've got. Bakugo stretched his arm. Then, well, he took his stance and threw the ball high with a fierce explosion. Die! Sora's eyes widened in awe, while Yu took several steps backwards. Know your own maximum first. That's the most rational way to form the foundation of a hero, he said, holding his smartphone to show them Bakugo's record. It was 705.2 meters. It earned excited gasps and murmurs from the rest of the class. 705 meters? Seriously? What's this? It looks fun. We can use our quirks as much as we want. As expected from the hero course. It definitely isn't. Yu wasn't fond of the whole thing. Whisper stretched his arms. Well, seems my role has come. This is even a worse idea. It looks fun, huh? Something about the air around their teacher changed. You have 3 years to become a hero. Will you have an attitude like that the whole time? He had a rather mischievous smirk. All right. Whoever comes in last place in all 8 tests will be judged to have no potential and will be punished with expulsion. Huh. Yu's face went starch white in color. Whisper smiled widely as he kept jabbing at the purple head. You'll need my help. We're free to do what we want about the circumstances of our students. He held up his hair so his dark eyes were much visible. Welcome to Yua's hero course. Last will be expelled, but it's the first day of school. The brunette-haired girl tried to resonate with him. No, even if it wasn't the first day of school, this is too unfair. Natural disasters, big accidents, and selfish villains. Calamities whose time or place can't be predicted. Japan is covered with unfairness. Hearing those words, Sora's hands clenched. Memories of the past came to life in the back of her mind. But how? All of a sudden. Wasn't there anything you could do? Can't you do anything now? She had known of the unfairness of the world. Of that unpredictable threat. Heroes are the ones who reverse those situations. If you wanted to go to talk with your friends at Mickey D's after school, too bad. For the next 3 years, Yua will do all it can to give you one hardship after another. Go beyond. Plus ultra. Overcome it with all you've got. He waved his finger at them as if inviting them to impress him. Sora's eyes narrowed in determination, while Yua gulped. However, he wasn't giving up on Yua. Not now. Everyone had surely made their unwavering resolve clear. All right, demonstration is over. The real thing starts now. Test 1. 50-meter dash. Cool. This is one of my specialities. Whisper was whirling around his arm as if warming up. Sora was watching the rest as they raced. So far, all of their quirks seemed amazing. Especially Edith's. You're fast. 3.04 is an amazing record. Well, that was quite an easy test for me. I need harder obstacles, plus ultra. Why is he that hyped? Whisper wondered. A few of their classmates underwent the test before Midoriya stepped up. Look, it's Midoriya-kun's turn. Everyone looked back at him. His opponent. Sora looked at the blonde by his side. Still irritated. That delinquent, said Whisper. Can't disagree, Ida sighed. Midoriya seemed worried. When the signal sounded, Bakugo was already ahead of the other male. Midoriya seemed to struggle till he reached the finish line. He isn't using his quirk. Ida narrowed his eyes. It seems he can't. Sora and Yu blinked at him, but their attention was drawn by Aizawa. Shirogane, Seijin, your turn. Sora and Yu took their places on the support. Whisper grinned broadly while wringing his arms. It's been years since I took over you. Please, don't go overboard. Yu begged. Shut up, soldier. He forced Yu's mouth open and slipped through it. In less than a second, the atmosphere around Yu changed. He looked up with a wide smirk, no more looking tense. Being able to feel again is good. Ho, so you're getting serious. I should as well. Her large white wings shot out of her back. This is their quirks. Ida inspected them carefully. Wings and… What's that with the boy? The brunette, now known as Uraraka, inclined her head. We should know once they're finished. On your mark, get set. And there was the signal. It was a split second. All that was left behind was dust as both bolted forward. 5.07 inches. 5.15 inches. Were their records. Tesk couldn't beat you today either. Yu looked back at his friend as she landed. It was a close call though. Sora comforted him. Shirogane Sora. Quirk, Angel. What's that you say? She has superior strength, speed and stamina to humans. And as you saw, she can grow wings. Seijin Yu. Quirk. Spiritual link. He can see and interact with all spiritual forms. Yokais, ghosts, souls. In addition, he can share his energy with them and vice versa. But if he gives too much, he will faint. Both of you, well done. Ida and Uraraka approached them. Your quirks are quite amazing too. You think so? Sora blushed while rubbing the back of her head. Well, of course. Yu smirked confidently and pointed at himself. You have no chance against me. Seijin. Kun? Is that really him? Ida quirked his eyebrow at Sora. Ah, don't mind the sudden change. It gets like that when he absorbs a spirit's energy. So, that from earlier was really a ghost? Uraraka seemed uneasy. Don't you worry. Whisper is a kind ghost. Is not. He is as docile as a kitty. Is not. Frankly, it seems like Seijin Kun became Whisper Kun himself. Ida tapped his chin. Yu shares his energy with spirits and vice versa. However, spirits themselves are energy. So when he absorbs their energy, he kind of absorbs their whole personalities as well. Yu likes to call it takeover. You better get used to it, because I will be like this for the rest of the day. The whole day. This Yu is better. I should let Whisper take over for the rest of my life. Sora gave him a chop on the forehead. No good. He will run out of energy sooner or later. You both are pretty close, I see, said Uraraka. Yeah, we're childhood friends. I've spent time with these guys probably more than my family, she said, throwing a hand around Yu's shoulders, who seemed annoyed at how close she was. I'm glad you've got time to chit-chat. They jolted when Aizawa spoke from behind them. It's time for the second test. Bring it on. I'm gonna ace it. This Seijin Kun is really energetic. I'm not losing, Ida retorted. Test 2. Grip strength. It was by far easier than expected. Sora's result was 97 kilograms. What? Uraraka peeked down at her device. Shirogane-san, you're strong. Mine is only 26 kilograms. Well, my quirk is Angel, so I'm slightly stronger than the average person. Still, I can't be compared to Shoji-kun. She pointed at a white-haired bulky boy with 3 pairs of arms. True for that. His result was 540 kilograms. Damn it, above me again. Yu was frustrated. What's yours? Asked Ida. Yu held up his device, which showed 90 kilograms. 90 kilograms. Yu. A boy with blonde hair that had a black streak like thunder approached them. His device was sending sparks around itself, something that made Sora think he kind of used electricity to fool it. How can someone like you get that much? Another short boy with purple balls for hair pointed an accusing finger at him. Why he was pissed was beyond Sora. Whisper used to be athletic back in his life, and he even became stronger after years of sharing our energy through spiritual link. So it's only natural for me to get his strength when he takes over. elaborated the purple head. This is frustrating. Ida was quivering as he bit on his lip. His device showed a total of 72 kilograms. Midoriya-kun, what about you? Midoriya sweated. 56 kilograms. An average result. Sora thought. Why isn't he using his quirk? Test 5. Ball throw. The past 2 tests were quite easy for them. Ada managed to top the standing long jump, while the short boy named Minta pulled an extraordinary show of the repeated side steps. Sora, Yu and Uraraka did well so far. Sora was more interested in knowing the rest of her classmates and their quirks. Yu was still frustrated that he couldn't beat Sora, or get at least one amazing result like the rest of them. And when it was time for the ball throw, Uraraka sent the class into a trance when she had infinity. Infinity. That's amazing, she got infinity. Kaminari was dumbfounded. Sora's attention shifted to Midoriya by his side. He looked dreadful, and the atmosphere around him all dark and gloomy. What's wrong with him? She wanted to talk to him, but Aizawa's voice caught her before she moved a muscle. Shirogane. Ah, hi. She walked to the circle, ball in hand. Taking in a deep breath, she threw it as high as she could. After a moment of soaring through the air, it landed 200 meters from her. Her second throw was 203 meters. Next, seijin. Yu whirled his arm for a moment before throwing the ball. His records were 198 and 197 meters. Why can't I catch up with you? The purple head's eyebrows furrowed. I need to train more. I can't let myself behind you. If you ever remember to do so. Sora waved with a laugh. Eh? What do you mean? Uraraka asked. After a takeover, Yu's memories of that period become confused the longer it takes. Sora explained, giggling slightly at the boy fuming. By the time Whisper comes out, he will probably have forgotten half of today. Huh, so he really can't stay long like this. Though he gets stronger. She noted. I kind of prefer the natural Yu though. I'm used to the personality swing, but still, can't wait for him to go back to normal. So I think it's good that way. Sora smiled. After all, that's who he really is. Enough talking about me. He pointed back at the white circle where Ida was standing. It's Ida-san's turn. The brunette had decided on kicking the ball instead of throwing it. Using the power of his engine, he managed to send it further than 400 meters in both tries. I don't feel satisfied at all. Ida shook his head as he walked to them. No one would ever after Uraraka-san. Yu jabbed his thumb at the brunette behind him, to which she blushed and gave a nervous smile. Next, Midoriya. The green head walked to the center of the circle with shaky paces. He's definitely mortified. He stared down at the ball in his palm and his face contorted. It doesn't look good for Midoriya-kun if he continues like this, stated Ida most concerned. Of course he would, by far. Midoriya was almost the last at every single test. Huh, of course not. He's a quirkless small fry, you know. Bakugo pointed. However, it surprised Ida. Quirkless? Are you not aware of what he did in the entrance exam? Huh? Sora's eyes shifted between Aizawa and Midoriya. From his aura, the girl could tell that their teacher was all interested in the boy. Could it be? Ida-kun. You said Midoriya-kun can't use his quirk. Why? Ida looked back at her. I've just seen it once, but after he used it, his body was badly hurt. Sora, you don't think? The white head nodded. Mostly this whole test thing. She stared at Midoriya, and her eyes widened when his aura enlarged and swelled. Don't. That's exactly what Aizawa-sensei wants. He threw the ball with the intention of using all he had. Yet, and much to the class confusion, Midoriya's ball settled a few meters from him. 46 meters. Green eyes widened, both in shock and dread. I was definitely trying to use it just now. I erased your quirk. Their attention was shifted to the teacher. The bindings he had around his neck floated around him, revealing a pair of yellow goggles. His hair stood up and his eyes glowed bright red. That entrance exam was definitely not rational enough. Even a kid like you was accepted. Scary. Even Yu, who was affected by Whisper's personality, thought so. Erasing a quirk? Hold on. Don't tell me he. Midoriya beat her to it. You can erase other people's quirks with your quirk just by looking at them. The erasure hero. Eraserhead. Eraser? I don't know him. I've heard of him. He's an underground hero. Whoa, it's really him, Sora exclaimed enthusiastically, ignoring the tension in the air. To think he is our teacher. I heard he doesn't like media, so he isn't well known. Yu voiced, studying the man carefully. From what I can tell, you can't control your quirk, can you? He was annoyed. That much was visible. Do you intend to become incapacitated again and have someone save you? That's not my intention. Aizawa's bindings bundled the boy and dragged him closer. Whatever your intention, I'm saying that's what those around you will be forced to do. Midoriya shuddered under the weight of those words. In the past, there was an oppressively passionate hero who saved over 1,000 people by himself and created a legend. Even if you have the same reckless valor, you'll just be decked and turn into a useless doll after saving one person. The harsh truth transfixed him like an arrow. Midoriya Izuku, with your power, you can't become a hero. Yu pursed his lips upon hearing that very familiar line. Midoriya gulped as he stared back at the teacher. In a moment, his hair and bindings loosened down. I've returned your quirk. You have 2 turns for the ball throw. Hurry up and get it over with. He walked away. That was harsh. Her eyes softened at the boy as he was mumbling to himself. It looks like he received some advice. Ida thought. Probably just telling him he's expelled. Bakugo said nonchalantly. Yu squinted. It was just he and Sora who could clearly hear most of their conversation because of their quirks. Are you worried about him? The blonde standing by Uraraka and Sora abruptly turned to them. I'm not at all. He placed a hand on Uraraka's shoulder, who seemed confused. Who are you? Oh, Aoyama-kun, right? Sora pointed at him. You couldn't do much in this test too because of your quirk. Say rude. Look, Uraraka pulled their attention to Midoriya as he was about to throw. Sora saw his aura enlarged and swirling again. But this time, it was different. It was mostly concentrated on his pointer finger. Smash! The ball soared up in the sky with an eruption of gale and soon was out of sight. Awesome. Sensei. Midoriya turned to their teacher, biting on his bottom lip and clenching the hand with the injured finger. I can still move. He's a persistent person. Yuu's eyes were fixed on the pained expression on Midoriya's face. But still, he didn't waver. Cool. He got over 700 meters. Finally, a hero-like record. Sora took a step back when Uraraka threw her hands up ecstatically to avoid being hit. His fingers swollen, Ida noted. The entrance exam as well. He has a strange quirk. He is not used to it. Yu concluded. It's not very stylish. Everyone ignored Aoyama's remark. Bakugo's face was interesting not to say the least. They were all taken by his explosions as he rushed over to Midoriya. Hey, tell me what's going on, Deku, you bastard. Thankfully, he was restrained by their teacher. Was that a way to ask someone to tell you something? Sora's sweat dropped. It was more like trying to murder him. Yu gulped. What the? These cloths are hard. Bakugo grappled against Aizawa's bindings, but to no avail. Their weapons for capture made of carbon fiber woven together with metal wire made of a special alloy. Aizawa elaborated. Geez, don't keep making me use my quirk over and over. They all felt intimidated as they watched the struggle. I have dry eyes. With his amazing quirk, it's a waste. We're wasting time. Whoever next, get ready. He let go of Bakugo and walked away. Midoriya gingerly sidled around the other boy, who stood still as if wedged in the ground. Is your finger all right? Uraraka asked once he walked to them. Oh, yeah. What was wrong with Bakugo-kun? Sora asked. Don't worry. That's how Kakin is. He retorted. Kakin? Yu blinked. We're childhood friends, so. I've been calling him like that since I can remember. Huh. So close, and yet he acts like that towards you. Strange. Sora cocked her head to the side, while Midoriya merely laughed it off, unaware of the dark glares from a certain blonde. They finished the last 3 tests. Yu and Sora were pretty satisfied with their result. Midoriya, on the other hand, struggled with his injured finger on all 3 tests. Are you sure you're all right? Sora approached him after the long-distance run was over as he slumped down on the ground, offering him her hand. Yeah, don't worry. She pulled him on his feet, and he hunched over himself, trying to catch his breath. Ida offered him his bottle of water. You need some refreshment, and you should check on that finger of yours soon. Thanks, Ida-kun, he said, accepting the water bottle gratefully. Gather around. Aizawa called them. Everyone huddled around him. Okay, I'll quickly tell you the results. The total is simply the marks you got from each test. He held out his smartphone. It's a waste of time to explain verbally, so I'll show you the results all at once. So the person with the lowest total score is expelled. Well, it's not my problem to worry about. You're still there, Whisper? Sora's sweat dropped at Yuu's overconfident smirk. A hologram screen popped in front of them, with their names and rank. I'm 16th, cheered Sora. Why am I 18th? Yuu was beyond himself, making Sora laugh awkwardly. His eyes then squinted. Number 22 is. Sora's eyes went to the bottom right corner of the screen. Midoriya-kun. By the way, I was lying about the expulsion, Aizawa said abruptly as the screen vanished into thin air. Everyone there was thunderstruck hearing that. It was a rational deception to draw out the upper limits of your quirks. He smirked widely. What? Midoriya, out of everyone, was the most shocked, seeing how he became more like a white ghost at that very moment. Of course that was a lie. It should have been obvious if you just thought it through. Yaoyorozu stated, as though it was as clear as the day's sun. You know what would be rational? Me ridding Yua of you? Sora held Yuu's collar from the back to restrain him. This is something Whisper would definitely have said. Get out, Whisper. You've affected him this far. The white ghost slipped out through Yuu's mouth, while the boy stood dumbfounded, trying to figure his surroundings. Tusk. I would have liked to strangle him. What was the meaning of what I've done? Calm down, Whisper. Sora tried her best to soothe the spirit. That was a little nerve-wracking, huh? Zero asked the rest. I'll take up the challenge anytime, announced Kirishima defiantly. With that, we're done here, Aizawa told them. There are handouts with the curriculum and such in the classroom, so when you get back, look over them. Midoriya sighed tiredly, yet snapped up when he was called. Midoriya, have the old lady fix you in the nurse's office. Aizawa handed him a paper. Tomorrow will be packed with even more rigorous tests. Prepare yourself. And he left. Don't they think of Yua's reputation when they make a fib like that? Ida seemed most disappointed, but everyone else was giggling at him. The white head looked up at the sky. Yua, huh? If the first was like this, then I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. She pumped her fist up excitedly. Yu whirled his head around like a lost child. What happened? After retrieving the handouts and having to coax Ida not to count them when he insisted on organizing their seats in the alphabetic order, Sora and Yu heaved a tired breath when they were let out of the school. First day, and I'm already tired. Sora stretched when they went out. Yu glimpsed Ida and Midoriya talking a few feet away and went over to them. I'm really sorry for the bother. He bowed in front of them, apologizing most sincerely. Seijin-kun, rise your head. What are you apologizing for? Ida waved his hand in a chopping motion as he spoke. It's just, whenever Whisper takes over, he ends up going overboard. I may have said or done some inappropriate things. Anyway, I'm sorry for the inconvenience I may have caused. Whisper, on the other hand, was pouting while crossing his arms, showing no sign of remorse whatsoever. He still didn't overcome the fact that Aizawa lied to them. And seeing Yu apologizing back then didn't make his mood better. I didn't do anything wrong. Plus, you seem to have so much fun. It's fine, Seijin-kun. You didn't do anything inappropriate, so you don't have to worry about it. Midoriya assured him with a smile. His finger was bandaged after he went to the nurse office. I told you nothing happened. And Whisper enjoyed himself too. Sora smiled as she patted the boy's back. Hey, guys! Everyone turned around and saw Uraraka running towards them. Going to the station? Wait for me. Uraraka-san. You're the Infinity Girl. Ida called. Ida-kun, you still didn't get her name? Sora was surprised. Even though you're the one who insisted on the seating order? Whisper pointed. I'm Uraraka Ochako. You're Shirogane Sora-san, Seijin Yu-kun. She shifted her look around them as she spoke. You're Ida Tenya-kun, and you're Midoriya Deku-kun, right? Deku. Midoriya was taken in. Huh? Isn't it your name? Sora blinked. During the fitness test, the boy named Bakugo said that, right? Uraraka asked. I thought so too. Yu added. My real name is Izuku, but Deku is what Kaken calls me to make fun of me. Midoriya tried to explain the best he could. An insult? Ida thought out loud. Are you really close in the first place? Whisper snorted. Oh, is that so? Sorry. Uraraka rubbed her head regretfully. But Deku sounds like the Japanese word for you can do it, so I kinda like it. I'm Deku, Midoriya shouted out, his face red and sweaty. Midoriya-kun, Ida was stunned. You're accepting it too easily. Wasn't that an insult? It's like a Copernican revolution. Midoriya murmured, covering his reddened face with his hands, but the red color still shone through. Kopi, Sora and Uraraka inclined their heads in confusion. This school is a magnet for weirdos, Whisper mumbled. They walked down the street back to the station, talking about today's tests, what they expect from UA in the future, and even about their quirks. If I touch anything, I can render it weightless, even myself. Uraraka went first. But if I overdo it, I get nauseous and end up throwing up some sparkly stuff. Cool. And the blisters on your fingers, are they from you quirk too? Sora asked. You saw them. Yeah, I was born with them. Uraraka opened her palm as to show them. It's the same as your holy ring, right, Shirogane-san? Tell us more about your quirk. Sora is fine. Sora smiled, then placed a finger on her jaw while thinking. You've seen the strength, speed, and wings. That leaves the enhanced senses and the aura. I can see people's auras. Aura? Midoriya brought out a notebook and a pen and was scribing while listening. What do you mean by aura? I call them auras, but they're humans conscious. Sora explained. Your mind decides on everything you do a few moments before you actually do them. I can see that decision. Eh? How? Ida was interested as well. That was visible from his vigorous hand moves. What I see is a colored energy like coat engulfing the person. When, for example, they decide on punching, the energy thrusts forward in the direction they want to punch in before their body do. So I can predict their moves. Also, I can tell if they were up to something good or bad, and to a certain point see their feelings. Amazing. So in one-on-one battles, That gives you an advantage. Midoriya blinked. What about multiple opponents? You got me there. Sora pointed at him. Because what I see is this swirling energy coat. It gets confusing when there are multiple people. Not to mention, it can't help for sneaking attacks. Only for head-on fights, I get. Midoriya wrote down. You're serious about gathering information, aren't you? Whisper inspected the almost filled notebook. Then, Ernest-kun. Whisper. Tell us about yours. Ida pushed up his glasses. As you saw in the tests, my quirk allows me to run fast and increase power through the engine in my legs. Your moves, both during the entrance exams and the tests, were amazing, Ida-kun. You know how to use your engine to its full potential. Midoriya stated. But I have to be careful not to abuse it so much. Ida thought. Moreover, I'm more concerned about your quirk. Midoriya blinked. Mine? It seems to be some kind of super strength. But, back during the entrance exam and today, it backfired at you. This is worrying. Midoriya sweated. I had it for a short time now, so I'm not used to it. A short time? Sora's brow shot upwards. Shouldn't quirks manifest around 4 or 5? Not necessarily. Yu answered. It's rare, but there were late bloomers recorded in the past. It's not a strange thing. And during my time, there was those who thought they were quirkless as well, but turned up to have quirks hard to be noticed. Whisper piped in. So it's a rare thing, Uraraka thought. Anyway, that leaves Seijin-kun. Midoriya looked over at him. Yu didn't seem much excited at the idea of talking about his quirk. His eyes went down to the ground. No one ever heard of his quirk, and neither pitied him or felt scared of him. My quirk, as I said, allows me to interact with spirits. Basically, I can see and hear what other humans can't. He said reluctantly. Ghosts and spirits, right? Uraraka tilted her head, and the boy nodded. Even the souls of living people within their bodies. He wrought his hands together, waiting for any reaction from them. When none came, he continued. Half my quirk initially originated from Dad's enhanced senses. However, mine is too enhanced. He rose his head up slightly so he can explain further. Humans can merely see from red to purple in the spectrum colors. I can see beyond that. It's the same for sound waves. That's the logic behind people being unable to see spirits in the first place. I didn't know about that. Midoriya seemed astonished. I thought they were mere myth. Ida pointed. Well, certainly I'm not, Whisper objected. So, how comes we can see Whisper? Uraraka asked. It's a long story. First of all, let me explain a bit about spirits. Whisper snatched Ada's glasses and took out a cane from nowhere, waving it around as he cleared his throat. Spirits are not tangible, that much is clear, else you would have bumped into them all the time. However, some powerful spirits can manifest a physical form, but that requires much energy. Usually to get stronger, spirits resort to feed on humans' energy. The easiest way is through their emotions. The strongest and easiest emotion to produce so far is fear. That's why spirits mostly resort to terrifying humans to feed on their fear and gain strength. Thanks for the lesson. Yu snatched the glasses from Whisper and gave them back to Ida. Here comes the other half of my quirk, originated from my mother. She can share her stamina or energy with people and vice versa. I can do the same with spirits. When I give them from my energy, they can maintain a physical form. And the more I give them, the stronger they get. That's how Whisper is here. But he sometimes switches to using his own energy when I pass out after overusing mine. The other way around is like how Whisper took over today, but that also have a limited time. I can't consume a spirit's energy fully, or they will vanish. And if they take over for too long, I gradually lose my conscious of myself, becoming more like them. I see. Which means you basically call spirits to fight for you, right? Midoriya asked, and Yuu looked away. It's not easy. All of them, except Sora, blinked. Spirits have their own lives too, in a way. It's not easy to ask them to risk all to fight for me. He looked back at them. So far, I managed to make contracts with only 3 spirits aside Whisper. In exchange for offering my energy, they will help me out in battle. Still, I have to be considerate of their situation as well. It's possible that they would leave in the middle of a fight or not show up at all. His hands clenched around the hinges of his backpack. I know. It's a rather inconvenient quirk for a hero. And it's kinda weird. To be able to see what others don't even believe in. Seijin-kun. Midoriya thought about it for a second and shut his notebook. I don't think so. He smiled back at the other boy, taking him by surprise. Your quirk is amazing. It's built on trust and teamwork. It may have many drawbacks, but no quirk doesn't. You have a greater chance of overcoming that by working together with your spirits. Yuu's eyes widened at Midoriya's words. I think your quirk is cool too, added Uraraka. To be fair, I've always feared ghosts and all. But meeting you today made me want to know more. Your quirk broadened my limited sight. Ida stated earnestly. To always think that your kind didn't exist. I'm most sorry, Whisper-kun. As long as you know now, that's fine. Whisper shrugged and looked away. His eyes then fell on a nearby clock, and they widened. Crap, we're gonna miss the train. Soldiers, hurry up. Sir, yes sir, Sora and Yu saluted. Soldiers? The other 3 blinked. What are you standing there for? You 3 as well. The soldier who get there late will have to clean the dishes tonight. His head got cartoonishly big as he yelled at them. But, no buts, start running for your lives, soldiers. You better listen to him. He won't take no for an answer like this. Sora whispered as they hurried down the street. Where's your answers, soldiers? Sir, yes sir, all 5 of them shouted. The next day started off as any normal school day. They had regular required classes in the morning. The English class was given by Present Mike. Needless to say, nothing of his attempts to fire them up worked. The whole class were in a trance, mostly thinking that was so normal for a hero course. At lunch break, Sora and Yu joined Ida, Uraraka and Midoriya in the cafeteria for lunch. It was served by the cook hero, Lunch Rush, who held a thumb up at them when they got their meals. White rice is great comfort food, isn't it? Yeah, Uraraka nodded, reveling in her meal. Midoriya was marveling over the hero, while Ida sat stunned. Sora dug in her food, while Yu was receiving a glass from Whisper after chalking on his. And then in the afternoon, they were up for a surprise. It was hero basic training, and their tutor was. I am. Coming through the door like a normal person. Everyone's eyes went wind at the man who entered their class, and the place was filled with gasps of astonishment. It was none other than the #1 hero, All Might. It's All Might. Wow, he really is a teacher. That's a costume from the Silver Age, isn't it? Its style is so different. It's giving me goosebumps. I've heard the rumors. Sora mumbled, her lips pulling to a smile. But to think it's true. #1. Hero. Yu thought of what kind of classes he will conduct. All Might strolled proudly to his desk and faced them. I teach hero basic training. It is a subject where you train in different ways to learn the basics of being a hero. Uraraka in front of Sora was nodding excitedly. You'll take the most units of this subject. All Might started flexing his muscles. Let's get right into it. This is what we'll do today. He held up a card with the world battle on it. Combat training. Combat. Bakugo was ecstatic, as if his birthday had come. Training. Midoriya was apprehensive of his friend's excitement. Battle. Yu gulped. I didn't expect it right from the second day. We're hero course. What do you think? Yaoyorozu looked back at him. And to go with that are these. He pointed at the wall as 4 hidden shelves slid out to view, each containing suitcases labeled from 1 to 22. Costumes made based on your quirk registrations and requests you sent in before school started. There was a loud cheering from the class. It's finally here, Sora pumped her fist. Can't wait to see mine, Uraraka told her. After you change, gather in ground beta. With that, they stood in line to get their costumes. All Might was standing in front of the exit, waiting for them. A moment later, there was the sound of footsteps as Class 1 stepped out of the shadow of the tunnel and into the light, all clad in their hero costumes. They say the clothes make the man, young men and ladies. All Might stated proudly as the sun rays illuminated them. Be fully aware, from now on, you're heroes. He smiled at them. That's great, everyone. You look cool. Now, shall we begin, you zygotes? Ochako-chan, your custom is cute. Uraraka rubbed the back of her head with a blush. It's embarrassing, though. Sora-chan, yours. She was merely wearing what seemed like an overalls coming straight out of a Greek mythology, sleeveless with loose shorts. A golden belt around her waist to which she fastened 2 pouches. She had a plant-themed bracelet around her right wrist. Not much, I know. I favor mobility overall, especially when flying. Ida-kun's costume, though. She knocked on his chest palate. Ida-kun, you're there, right? You seem much like a robot, you know. This will help me when dashing at full speed. Then he looked back at the only person left. Yu stood there, covering his face with the hood of his blue cloak. Seijin-kun. He was wearing a simple red shirt with its sleeves puffed around the shoulders and golden rings around the biceps, beige pants and black boots reaching his calf, and finally the dark blue long cloak. 3 blue fires were floating around him, emitting an eerie glow. Whisper as usual by his side. I don't need much, considering my quirk. He peeked from under his hood. Are those the spirits you mentioned? Ida pointed at the flames dancing in the air, recalling them from the entrance exam. Right. If they manifest in their full form, it will take a toll on me. So they stand by in the fire form. It doesn't consume much energy. You look cool. It makes your costume stand out more, Uraraka clapped. Even though the costume itself is simple, the fire makes it interesting. It's a good personal touch, elaborated Ada. Really? Sora smiled as she watched over them. Glad he is able to fit in. She then checked on the rest of the class. Where's Midoriya? No sooner than the words left her mouth that the boy came running, clad in a green jumping suit. Deku-kun. Uraraka smiled at him as he caught up. Uraraka-san. That looks cool, really down to earth. He was flattered, and even through his mask, the redness of his face was visible. I should have written what I wanted. Mine ended up being a skin-tight bodysuit. It's embarrassing. The hero course is the best. Mineta held up his thumb. What's with those weirdos? Whisper wanted to bang his head against a wall. Sora, however, was concerned when she saw All Might shaking and trying to stifle a laugh after one glance at Midoriya's costume. Even she could see the resemblance. Seems he is an All Might fan, huh? Now, it's time for combat training. The number 1 hero announced. Sir, Ida rose his hand. This is a battle center from the entrance exam. So will we be conducting urban battles again? No, we're going to move ahead 2 steps. He thrusted 2 fingers up. Most of the time, fighting villains takes place outside. But if you look at the total numbers, atrocious villains appear indoors at a higher rate. Imprisonment, house arrest, backroom deals. In this society filled with heroes, he coughed. True intelligent villains hide in the shadows. For this class, you'll be split into villains and heroes and fight 2-on-2 indoor battles. Without basic training? Asui asked. This is a real battle to understand those basics. He held up his fist. However, the key this time is that there's no robot you can just beat up. How will wins and losses be determined? Yaoyorozu interjected. Can we beat them up anyway? Sora flinched at Bakugo's question. Is beating up all he thinks about? Will the punishment be expulsion like with Aizawa-sensei? Uraraka was worried. How shall we be split up? Yu thought Ida's question was the most rational of all. Isn't the cape crazy? No one understood what was going with Aoyama's mind. All Might's face contorted, as if he was trying to stop himself from going crazy. I'll answer all your questions. He held a set of papers that seemed to be a script, explaining the conditions of the training. Now listen up. The situation is that the villains have hidden a nuclear weapon somewhere in their hideout. The heroes are trying to dispose of that. The heroes need to catch the villains or get the nuclear weapon back in allotted time. The villains need to protect the nuclear weapon for the whole time or catch the heroes. The situation feels very American, Midoriya commented. Teams and opponents will be determined by drawing lots. Their teacher held up a box labeled lots. They're being decided so haphazardly. Ida was surprised. Pros often have to create makeshift teams with heroes from other agencies. So maybe that's why, Midoriya explained. I see. The discernment to look ahead. But wait, if it's 2-on-2, there will be a team without an opponent. All Might smirked at that. No, it won't. There will be 2 teams that will have 3 members, and their opponents will be decided randomly. Randomly. Yu blinked. Then, their opponents may be a 2-member team. That won't be fair, Minta objected, throwing his fists above his head. The advantage will be for the 3-member team. That's also a part of the training, All Might stated firmly. You don't expect villains to come at you fair and square. There will be a lot of cases when heroes would find themselves outnumbered. To deal with that situation is also a basic you should learn. He has a point, Yaoyorozu admitted. However, All Might pointed, his grin as wide as ever. This is still a training session. I don't opt to make you lose confidence. That's why, even if your opponent is a 3-member team, capturing 2 alone would be enough. So that's a handicap for them. Midoriya mumbled. As expected from Yua. Please excuse my rudeness, Ida bowed. It's fine. Let's do this quickly. All Might pumped up his fist. The teams were decided. Team A, Midoriya and Uraraka. Team B, Shoji and Todoroki. Team C, Minta and Yaoyorozu. Sora thought Minta was having the best time of his life, and couldn't help but shiver at the way he was looking at his teammate. Team D, Ida and Bakugo. Whisper pitied the engine user, for he will have to deal with the delinquent. Team E, Ashido, Shirogane and Aoyama. Sora's sweat dropped at the weird poses Aoyama was doing. Team F, Kota and Sato. Team G, Kaminari and Gyro. Team H, Asui and Takoyami. Team I, Ojiro, Hagakura and Seijin. Yu hid his head behind his hood. He wanted to be with at least one of the people he was familiar with. Team J, Siro and Kirishima. Wow, it must be fate. I'm counting on you. Uraraka sparkled her eyes at Midoriya, to which his face became redder. You don't have to worry. You're lucky I'm in your team. Aoyama continued to pose around, swishing his cape till the point Sora, though he would rub it on their faces. I don't feel lucky at all. Sora's sweat dropped. You probably mean it's too bad that you're in our team, Aoyama. Ashido pointed at him with one eye closed. Say rude. Well then, both of you, I'm counting on you. Ojiro smiled at both his teammates. I will do my best. Yu hid further under his hood. Don't you worry. I won't let anything hold me down, Hagakura, the invisible girl of the class, claimed. Her gloves shot up in the air in fists. Will this be okay? Ojiro's tail dropped slightly. Don't worry. You still have me. Whisper pointed at himself proudly. but it only made the blonde boy smile awkwardly. The first teams to fight will be. All Might dipped his hands in two other boxes with the words villain and hero. He took two balls with the letters A and D on them. These guys, Team A will be the heroes, and Team D will be the villains. Everyone else, head toward the monitor room. Yes, sir. Sora and Yu approached their friends. Good luck to you all. Thanks, Sora-chan. To be a villain, I never thought such day would come. It was hard to tell which expression he was wearing, but by the way his eyes were bulging out of the headpiece of his armor, Yu thought Ida was disappointed. Give it your best. Show us what you're capable of. Soldiers, Whisper shouted. Sir. Yes, sir. All three of them saluted. Sora and Yu trudged away, but the girl glanced to see Bakugo glaring darkly at Midoriya, who tried to level his glare. However, that seemed to anger him even more. Midoriya-kun and Bakugo-kun are childhood friends, right? Yu looked at her. It seems so. They're so close to call each other by nicknames. An insult from that delinquent's side. Whisper interjected. Then, why Bakugo-kun seems so angry with Midoriya-kun? Like, if he despises him. Something must have happened to them. Yu thought. When they reached the monitor room, Ashido waved at them. Yo, both of you. She rushed over. Shirogane, seijin. Sora is fine. The girl interjected. However, Ashido didn't seem to hear her. Who do you think would win? Huh? Yu blinked. We were all talking about it. We mostly agreed Bakugo's team is gonna nail it. Both his and Ida's quirks are strong. On the other hand, Midoriya's team have Uraraka's zero gravity and Midoriya's superpower, which can be used once, so it's quite visible. You're being naive, soldier. Whisper folded his arms and shook his head. Naive? Ashido blinked. It's not quirks that decide the winner. Even in Battlefield, such thoughts would lead to an unavoidable defeat. How many weaklings defeated strong fractions using this? He pointed at his head. The result can't be predicted right now. You should wait for the very end to see for yourself. Ashido was befuddled, not entirely getting the ghost's words. It's been a while since I've heard Whisper being so wise. Sora whispered in her friend's ear. He is just trying to look important. Yu pointed. What were you saying, soldiers? Whispered turned on to them. Nothing, sir. Everyone is here. Good. All Might joined them in the monitor room and stood ahead of them, holding a clipboard and looking up at the screens showing both teams. Everyone, pay a close attention to this first battle and try to learn from them. Yes, sir. All Might nodded before grabbing a mic. Now, let's start the indoor person-to-person combat training with Team A and Team D. He turned the mic off. Okay, everyone, you all should think as well. His hand reached to his ear, setting a calm. Ochako-chan, Midoriya-kun, Ida-kun. Do your best. It was a few moments of unbearable heavy silence as they watched Midoriya and Uraraka sneak in and cautiously make their way through the corridors. Ambush. A blue glove pointed at the screen as Bakugo jumped from behind a corner, blasting his explosion at Midoriya, who acted in time to avoid him and protect Uraraka. When he stood up again, half his mask was burned. A surprise attack from the start. Bakugo, that's cheating. A surprise attack isn't manly at all. Kirishima punched into his hand irritably. A surprise attack is a strategy, too. All Might stated, pen in hand to evaluate their work. They're in the middle of a real battle right now. Midoriya's reaction speed, it was good. Whisper noted. Green-kun avoided it. Ashido seemed excited. There goes Bakugo, Kaminari shouted as the other lad went for the attack. However, Midoriya was able to block him and performed an over-the-shoulder flip, slamming Bakugo on the ground. Martial arts. Sora blinked at how he managed to throw Bakugo off his feet. That was a good move. It couldn't have been possible if he didn't manage to predict Bakugo-san's moves. Yu added, staring at the green head. He really is cool. Bakugo stood up again, and he seemed angrier than any of them had ever seen him. On another tab, they could see Ida throwing his fists up in frustration. Did something happen? Yu turned to Sora, who shook her head. She didn't have the slightest idea what happened. What was Bakugo saying? Can't tell with just the cameras in a fixed position and no sound, stated Kirishima. He's talking to his partner over the small wireless radio. All Might jabbed his finger towards his ear to show them his own. You can bring that plus the building's floor plan and this capture tape. He showed them a roll of white tape. Once you wrap this around your opponent, it shows that you've captured them. The time limit is 15 minutes, and the heroes don't know where the nuclear weapon is located, right? Ashido asked. Yes. The heroes are clearly at a disadvantage here. Heroes should be able to turn the table on whatever predicament they're in. Besides, didn't Aizawa-sensei tell you, too? You know, his fist thrusted upwards. Here we go. Plus Ultra. The whole class chorused, pumping their fists as well. Monsieur, Bakugo is. It was by far the most important thing Aoyama had ever said. They all focused back on the screen as Bakugo bolted at Midoriya, while Uraraka sprinted down the corridor. Midoriya managed to guard against Bakugo's kick, and he almost wrapped the capture tape around his leg. But another swing from the blonde made him duck away from the explosion. Awesome. He is really fast. The white head marveled at him. He got brains, that kid. Whisper smirked. That guy's amazing, Sato exclaimed. He's not even using his quirk, fighting against the guy who finished first in the entrance exam. Zero was astonished. He's pulling back. Yu spotted the green head running away from his opponent. Aoyama sighed. Running away isn't stylish. Idiot. He is being cautious. He needs a plan. Elaborated the ghost as they watched Bakugo searching the corridors for the green head. He seems really angry. It's scary. Yu gulped. He is someone I definitely don't want to face. Bakugo started blasting away the doors of the corridors and checking within the rooms. This is going too far. He is getting reckless. Sora was worried for Midoriya's safety after seeing Bakugo in that state. Meanwhile, Midoriya was on the second floor, trying to catch his breath and avoid fighting Bakugo. I see. So he wants to shake the delinquent away and catch up with his teammate. That's the most rational plan in this situation. Whisper squinted at the screen. It seems Bakugo is acting on his own, so if they could just get him out of the picture and make it a 2 versus 1 for Ida, they can win. Though, using the training to clear his personal problems. Sora couldn't help but glare at the picture of the blonde. Bakugo made it for the second floor after ruining the first one. On the other hand, Uraraka made it for Ida's hideout. It could have gone well had she not revealed her spot by bursting into laughter. Ochako-chan. Sora face palmed herself. Ho! The whole floor is empty. Ida must have thought ahead and disposed of anything she may be able to use. He isn't half bad. Whisper smirked. Is it me? Or is Ida-sen getting in the role of the villain? The purple head backed a step when his eyes fell on the male in the armor suit. Sora checked the time. They have 6 minutes left. Green-kun should stop hiding and do something. Ashido placed her hand on her side as she glanced back at Midoriya. Ashido-san. His name is Midoriya. Sora interjected with a bead of sweat. It was then that Midoriya stood up, apparently deciding on facing his opponent. However, Bakugo found him, Ojiro pointed out. The second moment, Sora wished her quirk could work through electronic devices. She wished she had seen what Bakugo was intending to do. But that wasn't the case. Young Bakugo, stop. Are you trying to kill him? A large explosion erupted from Bakugo's gauntlet, destroying the corridor and shattering the glass of the second floor. They could feel the shock wave even from their safe place. "This is supposed to be a class," Kirishima objected. "He's so strong," Whisper grunted. "Young man, young Midoriya." All Might tried to call for the boy. When the dust cleared, it revealed Midoriya was alive none the least. His right sleeve and the rest of his mask were burned to smithereens. Uraraka used the confusion caused by Bakugo's explosion and rushed to retrieve the weapon. Ida tried to block her, but she rendered herself weightless, jumping overhead and trying to touch the papier-mâché missile. Still, Ida was faster and managed to take away the weapon. Uraraka fell to the ground, flipped and slammed back on the wall. "She looks tired," Whisper commented. "Seems using her quirk on herself takes a toll on her," Sora stated. "Sensei, you should stop them. That Bakugo's really crazy. He's gonna kill him," Kirishima insisted. Frankly, both Yu and Sora agreed. They didn't know why All Might didn't stop the training yet after Bakugo's last attack. In that narrow space, if he made the slightest mistake, Midoriya would have been reduced to ash. "No," was all he said before holding the mic again. "Young Bakugo, the next time you use that, I'll stop the fight, and your team will lose." Bakugo certainly disapproved. To attack on such a large scale inside is inviting the destruction of the stronghold you should be protecting. That's a foolish plan for both heroes and villains. You'll lose a lot of points for it. Irritated, Bakugo jumped at Midoriya. He used an explosion to distract him and propel himself upwards, landing behind the green head. He attacked from behind. That took everyone by surprise and made them even more scared, if it could be, of the berserk blonde. "What was that just now?" Kirishima questioned. "He doesn't look like the type to think." Todoroki squinted. "But he's more subtle than I expected." They looked back at him. "What do you mean?" said Kirishima. He changed his course in a blast that doubled as a smoke screen and then did it again immediately. Getting in a clean hit while fighting against inertia requires fine lateral adjustment to the power of the explosions. Yaoyorozu elaborated. "He's too talented. Too talented. Ugh." Kaminari was feeling down seeing how strong the blonde kid was. He made it clear just how much the difference between them was. Bakugo aimed at Midoriya's arm with a right swing and grasped it, using a chain of blasts to pivot and slam the boy on the ground. No mercy. Yuu's lips quivered. "This is a lynching. He can capture him for this exercise by just wrapping the tape around him," Ashido complained. "He is doing it on purpose. He wants to fight." Sora bit her lip and looked back at their teacher who stood there and allowed that torture to continue. "Those are not the actions of a hero." Takoyami interjected. "I thought Midoriya was pretty amazing, too." Kaminari scratched the side of his head and dared to look up. "But in terms of combat power, Bakugo is definitely a ball of natural instincts." "Natural? Huh?" Whisper hummed. "He's running away?" Ashido pointed at Midoriya. "That's not something a man should do. But he has no choice." Kirishima agreed with the decision. "But something is strange." "Why?" "He can't use his quirk against him. He can't control it, and he is worried he may cause harm to his opponent." "This isn't fair at all." Sora gulped. "This isn't going to end well for him." Midoriya stopped by the window as Bakugo advanced on him. After a brief moment, they launched at each other, both activating their quirks. "This looks bad, Sensei," Kirishima shouted out, figuring it was probably Midoriya's end. All Might hesitated, much to Sora's frustration. "Both of you, stow." Yet, Midoriya did an unexpected thing. Instead of directing his attack at his opponent, he pointed it upward, tearing apart the ceiling and breaking through the high floors. Uraraka grabbed tightly to a pillar as a strong wind wave erupted from underneath. She used the weightless pillar to throw debris at Ida. And while he was guarding against them, She jumped overhead, floated above the huge hole made by Midoriya, and landed on the weapon much to Ida's shock. With Midoriya, they could see he was seriously injured after fending off Bakugo's blast with one hand. That blast, with his arm. Yu couldn't begin to imagine how hard that was. He predicted it. The coming attack. Whisper was at a loss of words. The allotted time was over. Everyone gaped at the screen, unable to take in the sudden turn of events. Hero. All Might began. Hero Team. Midoriya dropped to the ground, all worn out. Wins. Indoor person-to-person combat training. All Might repeated. This time, Uraraka slid down the long of the missile tiredly. Hero Team wins. However, the monitor room was filled with worried gasps. What the heck? The losers are practically uninjured and the winners are on the ground. Midoriya laid motionlessly while Ida was helping a nauseous Uraraka. They lost the battle, but won the war. Huh? Takoyami remarked. This is training, though, pointed Asui. This is scary. Yu, don't you get cold feet now? Pull yourself together, soldier. How can I do so after what I've just seen? Hope Ochako-chan and the rest are all right. Sora murmured as her eyes flicked back toward the screen. After seeing to it that the unconscious Midoriya was transported safely to the infirmary, All Might returned with the other three. Ochako-chan, you all right? Sora rubbed the back of the brunette as she walked in with Ida. I'm feeling better, don't you worry. The way her face seemed drained out of colors didn't help her at all conveying her words. All Might showed the result on the screen. Team A, win vs Team D, loss. Well, even if I say that, the MVP for this battle was young Ida. He announced over all of them. Ida was taken aback by that. It's not either of the winners, Ochako-chan or Midoriya-chan. Asui also was surprised. Well, why is that? Does anyone know? Yes, All Might Sensei. Yayurazu's hand shot high in the air. That's because Ida adapted the most to the context of the training. Everyone kept silent as they listened up. From watching the match, it appears Bakugo-sen acted on his own because of an obviously personal grudge. And as Sensei said earlier, it is foolish to launch a large-scale attack indoors. In the same way, taking into consideration the damage he received, Midoriya-san's plan was also rash. As for Uraraka-san, she let her guard down mid-battle, and her final attack was too reckless. If she treated the papier-mâché as a real weapon, she would not have been able to do something so dangerous. Her look went for the brunette, still thunderstruck with his head lolling a tad to the side. Ida-san had prepared for his opponent's arrival and assumed it would be a fight over the weapon, which made him late in responding to the final attack. Ida smiled widely as he held his hand to his chest, apparently touched. Good job, Ida-kun, Sora grinned, holding two thumbs at him. The hero team only won because they took advantage of the fact that this was training. They were practically breaking the rules. Her words left everyone else speechless. Whisper could bet even All Might himself didn't think of all of that. Well, young Ida also has parts of him that could be more relaxed. But well, that was correct. We should always start with the basics to develop depth of learning. We must strive ourselves wholeheartedly. Otherwise, we cannot become top heroes. She announced proudly while the rest of them merely gaped at her. So that's one of the 4 people admitted based on recommendations. Sora's eyes sparkled. Cool and smart. That's an elite for you. All right, everyone, let's change locations and start the second match. All Might stated, drawing their attention back to him. Tackle this training after thinking about what we just talked about. Yes. Battle Building B. Match 2. Team B are the heroes and Team I are the villains. Straight after them. This isn't good. If possible, Yu would have liked to vanish under his cloak. Come on, you can do it, soldier, Whisper bellowed. Good luck. Do your best, Yu. Sora's smiling face flashed in front of him, and he took in a deep breath. He can't put up a lame fight after she cheered for him. Ajiro-kun, Seijin-kun. Hagakure called. I'm going to get serious. I'll take off my gloves and boots, too. Oh, okay. Doesn't this girl have any shame? Weirdos. Whisper mumbled. You can't look, okay? She tried to hide herself, though they couldn't see it at all. I can't see you even if I tried. Oh no. After several attempts at getting his voice to be heard, Ajiro, and apparently Hagakure, turned to him. What's the matter, Seijin-kun? Edo, Ano. He fumbled around for words, but couldn't find them. Whisper grew impatient and punched him on the head. Hurry up and say it. It hurts. All right. He rubbed his head. Ajiro-san. Hagakure-san. I think. Maybe. We should. Split up. Split up? Why? He could see Hagakure's soul, a blazing and glowing golden flame, approaching him. Well, you see, we're a team of 3, and if 2 of us get captured, we're out, so. Ojiro seemed to think of it. Right, we shouldn't give them the chance to capture us. Good thinking, Seijin-kun. He nodded approvingly. I told you, have some confidence, soldier. Whisper huffed. I'll stay here and guard the weapon. In terms of physical strength, I'm the best bet. Hagakure-san and Seijin-kun. Attack them on different floors to prevent their advance. Sounds like a good plan. Well then, let's go. Now, let's start the second indoor person-to-person combat training match. From his floor, Yu watched as Shoji entered the building and walked out after a moment. That took him by surprise. What? Less than a moment later, the whole place froze down. What happened? Whisper shouted. I can't move. My feet froze. Yu looked down at the piles of ice around his feet, which pinned him right there. Footsteps could be heard as Todoroki made his way through the corridors of the 4th floor. He passed Hagakure. Whisper was enraged. I advise you not to move, or you may end up injuring your feet. Todoroki stated coldly. His eye, covered with ice, glowed in red, intimidating the purple head. Yu bit on his lip as Todoroki passed by him. Good luck. Your quirk is amazing. It's built on trust and teamwork. I don't need to move. With a shaking hand, he reached for one of the fires. If I can only summon Kyuubi right now. Todoroki stopped on his tracks, and his eyes widened when he looked back at Yu. This guy. The flame just started to enlarge, but with a wave of his hand, Todoroki froze the whole of Yu's body. All the flames around him were extinguished and Whisper almost faded. Yu, oh Yu, it can't be, you knocked him out. Whisper turned back to Todoroki as he breathed. A puff of mist came out. I've dropped his temperature enough to make him lose consciousness. What are you going to do? Whisper bit his lip. However, he didn't make a move. Figure. Back in the monitor room, everyone were shivering due to the sudden drop of the temperature. He did not cause any damage to his teammate or the nuclear weapon, and on top of that, he weakened the enemy. All Might mattered through chattering teeth. He got him. Sora's look softened at the picture of her frozen friend. What happened? Questioned Yuraraka. When he rendered him unconscious, Yu can no longer share his energy with his spirits, so they faded away. Sora explained. Why didn't Whisper-chan act to stop him? Asui asked, fighting to stay awake. It'll be considered cheating, Sora stated. Eh? As young Shirogane said, right now, Whisper exists on the field using his own energy. He no longer depends on young Seijin's quirk. If he acted, it will be the same as interfering. All Might elaborated. Sensei, you know about spirits? Sora was amazed to hear All Might explain. I'm a teacher. I had to study young Seijin's quirk in order to understand it. At the very back, Bakugo was gritting his teeth in frustration. Todoroki continued on. A few seconds later, he managed to retrieve the weapon. Hero team wins, shouted All Might. The ice engulfing the building started melting and Yu dropped down as soon as he was freed. Yu, oi Yu, wake up, Whisper grunted. It will be a while before he comes to. But this strength, it's on another level. He looked at the water puddles around them. Is he another recommended student? Wow. What's up with that quirk? As expected of someone who got in through recommendations. Uraraka's face contorted in worry seeing Yu didn't come up. Seijin-kun is still knocked out. I will check on him and bring the rest. All Might left the monitor room. When he came back, Yu was wrapped in a blanket with a runny nose. As the five of them stood side by side for the review, Todoroki glanced down at him. Sorry, I overdid it. It's all right. The boy was shaking underneath the blanket that didn't do much to warm him up. You better go get a bath when we're done here. If possible, some hot cocoa too, or you will get a cold. I will. Thanks for the concern. Yu uttered. Surprisingly, he is not a bad guy. Though back at the building, he flinched at the memory of his face back then. All right, everyone gathers around for a review of the second match. All Might told them. Though there is little to review. It was a one-sided battle. Ojiro-san and the others didn't have much to do against that attack of Todoroki-san. Yaoyorozu stated. True. Young Todoroki's actions were perfect. Young Ojiro's team also thought of their situation well. Splitting up was a good choice considering that once two of you are captured you would lose. He held up a thumb at them. You did well. Next, we will begin the third match. Yes, sir. You okay? Sora hurried to him. Yeah, just cold, that's all. I will be fine as soon as I warm up. He assured her. Sorry, Yu, I couldn't do much. It was probably the first time they saw Whisper that down. It's okay. There is no helping it now. At the very back, Bakugo bit on his lip angrily. The matches went on. In the third one, Team Takoyami and Asui managed to retrieve the weapon thanks to Dark Shadow, a creature living in Takoyami, who restricted both Siro and Kirishima with his large claws and Asui's agility in passing those Siro's tape. The fourth match ended with the villains' win for Gyro and Kaminari couldn't do anything about Yaoyorozu's barrier coupled with Mainta's sticky balls. It was the fifth match. Ashido, Aoyama, and Sora were discussing their plan outside the building. I can gorgeously defeat them with my sparkling laser, Aoyama claimed, pausing around. No, you can't. We shouldn't do much damage, remember? Ashido told him. Well, I've seen Koda and Sato's quirks up close during the fitness tests. Sato's quirk allows him to get stronger the more sugar he eats for 3 minutes. So he keeps packets of sugar with him. He will be tired when his time runs out. Koda, on the other hand, can communicate and command animals through speech. I see. I wonder what animals he could send after us, Sora muttered. Oh, but before that, we need to know more about each other quirks as well. Mine is Angel. I can fly and am slightly stronger and faster. As for me, my quirk is Acid. I can produce it from my body. Albeit there is a limit to how much I can use before it actually affects me. Ashido explained. Aoyama. His glasses sparkled. My quirk is Naval Laser. I can shoot a powerful sparkling laser from my belly. But if I fire for more than 1 second, it hurts my stomach. The rest of my suits is charged from my navel as well, so I can shoot from my knees and shoulders too. Ashido thought. Naval Laser, Aside and Angel. Sounds promising. Still, we need to set a plan, said Sora. 5 minutes passed by before All Might shouted. The fifth match of indoor person-to-person combat training, start. Aoyama strutted inside, wearing a confident look. Ashido was having her time skidding using her acid. Some of it fell on Aoyama's cape and ruined it, to which his face contorted as though it was the end of the world. Sorry, sorry. Sora's sweat dropped from behind them before checking the corridors. What do you think? Ashido asked. As I thought. I wouldn't be able to use my wings in the corridors, Sora stated. Seems we'll have to advance on foot. Ashido exhaled. Sora's eyes suddenly narrowed as she saw something. A mixture of different auras, all of them heading towards them from a low attitude. Down, she shouted. Ashido didn't lose a moment. Using her acid to burn 2 holes in the wall, she jumped and held into one of them, while Sora grabbed Aoyama by his cape and did the same. Beneath them, a sea of mice and rats rushed. Must be Koda. He used mice against us. Cape, cape! Aoyama was waving around. His cape, which was burned by Ashido's acid, was splintering. Crap! Sora tried to haul him higher, but the tear widened. Take my hand, quick! Ashido managed to grasp him before the cape was totally torn. Heavy. That was a close call. Sora sighed while Aoyama stared at the torn piece of his cape tearfully. It's not the time, Ashido snapped at him. I have my hands full here, so use your navel to open a path for us. Open a path? Where? The ceiling. Eh? But how will we get there? Just do so, Aoyama. He did as he was told, opening a hole in the ceiling. Sora promptly pushed herself off the wall and held onto the ledge of the hole, hauling herself up to the 2nd floor. Ashido-san, I will give you a boost, so propel yourself with your laser. Wait. Here we go. She swung him vigorously and let go of him. I said wait. This time he used the laser to push himself up and Sora caught him. Gotcha, she pulled him up. Ashido-san, Sora extended her hand. Ashido thrusted herself forward deftly and held onto the white head's hand. Thank you, she thanked once she made it through the hole. Opening a hole in the ceiling, isn't this quite reckless? Kaminari held his chin. I mean, what if the weapon was in there? Whisper chuckled at him. You don't realize it, don't you? The ghost wore a smirk. If it was so, Sora wouldn't allow it. They tore that hole because they knew the floor above them was empty. How? They don't have a quirk like gyros, Kaminari said, pointing at the said girl. That's right. Sora-chan has super senses too. Uraraka turned to Ida, who nodded at her. Which means if it's the floor above her. Ida began. She can confirm if it was empty or not. Yuwu continued. They have good teamwork too, Ribbit. Asui stated. But why are they splitting up? Hagakure asked. They must have a different plan from ours. Ojiro answered, arms folded. Do they? Todoroki watched as the trio were running away from a herd of pigeons swarming through the corridors of the 2nd floor. Now is pigeons, Ashido complained, rounding a corner along the other two. Calm down, Ashido-san. Everything will be all right. Ashido pouted as she recalled their conversation from earlier. Stay together? Sora nodded at the pinkette question. Since Sato's quirk has a limit, it will be a last resort for them. So I doubt he will leave the side of the weapon. Koda can't fight on his own, so they wouldn't be sending him too, then. Aoyama tapped his chin. They would mostly defend using Koda's quirk. The only animals he can find right now are mice and birds. I don't know whether his quirk is applicable on insects or not, so we have to take that into consideration. Either way, I doubt we can deal with many of them each on his own. Her eyes reflected an unwavering confidence. We need to trust each other and work as a team if we want to reach up. Trust each other. Ashido's eyes narrowed as they were headed to the end of that floor. Work as a team. Aoyama's glasses glistened, glimpsing the large window. That's our path to victory. Ashido-san, Aoyama-kun. Sora smirked broadly as her ears perked up, picking a slight movement above them. I've heard them. Ashido flung her arm forward, melting the wall blocking them. Aoyama skidded to a halt while both girls jumped out the window. They jumped out, Kirishima yelled. Are they forfeiting the battle? Kaminari was shocked. No, they're not. Yuu's eyes widened. That's right. All Might began. Her wings extended as they flapped through the air. She held onto her teammate's arm and sword. No one said that exiting the building was prohibited. Naval laser, with a blast from Aoyama. The herd of birds were frightened and scattered away, while the blonde was thrown out. You intend to play around with them? He questioned. Something like that. We need to figure where they're. I'm not like Gyro-san, but my hearing is better than average humans. I mostly would be able to find them if they were above us. Until then, let's make them think we are cornered so they let their guard down. And how do you intend to get to them? Ashido wondered. I may not be able to use my wings inside the building, but from the outside. She grabbed Aoyama's hand as she flew to the third floor. Ashido-san. Right on it. She splashed her acid on the glass of the third floor, melting it to nothingness. We can break through. Sora flew through the created opening. They're here. Sato hurried in, swallowing down the packet of sugar in his hand before rushing at them. However, he was halted by Sora. What? I'll take care of Sato-kun. My physical strength should be about enough to match him. You try to capture Koda and retrieve the weapon. But be careful. He may still have animals by his side. Ashido and Aoyama made for Koda, who waved his hands in fear and ducked. From behind him, a swarm of crows then came flying at them. Both of them quickly stepped aside before they could get caught in it. As expected, Ashido skidded away, trying to avoid them. Aoyama used the small lasers from his shoulders to keep them at bay. At this rate, we won't be able to reach the weapon. He shouted once he realized the crows were to keep them away from the papier-mâché missile. Sora winced as she guarded against Sato's punch. Even with my current strength, Sato-kun is way stronger than me now. But I have to get their back. There is no much time left. I need to touch the weapon. Ashido was throwing her acid at the crows, trying to force them away without harming the missile. Aoyama started shaking, his knees buckling. I'm at my limits. Sora's eyes widened when Sato's attacks became weaker. This is it. It's my chance. The next time he thrusted his hand for the punch. Thanks to her prediction, she managed to repel it with her right arm, and with a quick motion, aimed a kick under his chin, tossing him backward. The weapon. Her attention went for the target, still surrounded by swarming crows. I need to get through. Her wings shot out of her back once more and wrapped around her as she forced herself through the herd of birds. She winced in pain as the birds attacked her wings, but she steadily moved on. I'm not giving up here, not after they trusted me. Sora. Shirogane-san. She extended her hand, trying to reach the missile. A finger. Just a fingertip. Then there was the sound of a siren that lingered over the field. Time's up, All Might's voice told them.